We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
Thanks, Bob, and welcome everybody to GLOBEBUSTERS. We are on to episode number 22 of season 9. It is refraction. That's going to be kind of our topic of the day. I'm your host, Jeran from Jeranism, and sorry we're late today. I just got back from the Monterey Bay, so it may be a little bit of a rough show, but we will get through it nonetheless. And we do have some people here joining me. First, we've got Good Times for All, Zack the ball in the house. Zack, what up?
What's going on, Jeran?
How are you, my friend?
I can't complain.
All right.
It's a beautiful day, 70 degrees, something like that. Like perfect.
Beautiful,
so,
yeah. Unfortunately, we didn't see the mirror flash yesterday, but the reason for it is because it was too nice of a day. It's like, how could you? That's too nice. It's way too nice to see. But no, whenever it's that hot there, and man, you should have seen the people at the beaches yesterday. It was insane. I've really never seen it like that. Beach was just packed. Getting into Monterey took a while, and New Brighton State Beach was the most packed I've ever seen it. Plus, they added a $10 parking fee, which I've never seen before. So that was fun, especially for me who had to drop off a mirror and put 2 sticks on the ground and then leave. So here's my $10. Way to go. But yeah, so we can look at that. Actually, I think I'm going to start out with a video for us to watch that I thought was very good by Iru. And then we also want to watch Taboo Conspiracies video because I haven't seen it yet. And it just came out about 2 hours ago, I think it would have said. So we're going to watch those two. We'll talk a lot about refraction. We'll talk about yesterday. I'll show you some video footage. But during this first video, I got to run out to my car and get the camera and everything. We'll be watching the footage together for the first time. But, and there is possible, I have seen this happen before, that we might actually see it in the video, although I don't think so. And the reason why is because, again, you have that miraging at the horizon. And when you have that, that's different than when you're just trying to see through the atmosphere. Because I have seen infrared cameras peer through the atmosphere, but I have never seen... Who is that? Somebody just knocked something over. Usually what we see, I've never seen somebody see through the mirage, right? So when we see, we never get that. And if you think back to like Flat Reality Earth Explorers, when they did I forgot what it was, 13, 14 miles, that if you remember seeing the flash on the horizon, you just saw a horizon and then what was behind it. You didn't see doubling of everything. So I'll show you that. We did think we saw it a couple times. And then I want to ask questions about where we should have been looking, because when you get that, that reflection off the water, sometimes I'm wondering, is that the water that we're seeing? In which case, then the horizon is a lot higher than we think. And then you got to start talking about refraction. What does it do? Does it lower images or does it raise them? If you ask a glober, and this bothers me about this whole search for truth, is if we can't even agree on something so simple, then I wonder how we're even going to agree on anything ever. And that simple question is, does refraction cause things to appear higher or lower? Because let me just show you this to get started out. We'll get on the right subject. So if we go here and we go to a pencil and water, you can look at this and you can say, well, clearly the image appears lower. Okay. Every single time. You'll always see the pencil come in. Here's the pencil coming in. We know this is the real pencil. It appears lower.
You are not sharing with us your screen.
Oh, sorry
for interrupting.
Thank you. That's very true. You're right. Do you guys see it as my camera on Skype? You should now.
I still see your icon.
Oh, maybe I have to turn the camera on. Now do you see it?
And yeah, I think we start seeing something.
Tell me
like
if you see it. I don't think
amplify screen.
Okay, so you see it now? Yeah, and then now you see this?
Now I see the light.
Woo! All right. So just showing you that, this appears to be lower. Okay. And yet you still have globers saying that, no, it raises images. Think of the sun. They say that when the sun is below the horizon, that we see it above. So that would be indicating that refraction causes items to be seen as higher. But yet this is not, if refraction, why isn't this observed higher? So I don't even know if we can ever come to a common understanding if we can't even get past this one. And if you remember the debate between, like this here, what is this picture? I don't think that that's ever what's seen in reality. So I don't know why they draw things like this. But if you guys remember the debate that we had, it was Austin and Caleb and Derek, I think, against the three globe guys, Globey McGlobeface or whatever. And in that conversation we got, they were adamant about the fact that no, it raises eyes, raises image. And I think here's the thing, like now they're showing like this and they're saying, oh, well, your eyes see it coming from here, but really it gets kind of convoluted because this isn't at all what we see with the pencil. We actually see the pencil appear lower. See? So,
well, yeah, and the whole idea that the sun and what we see down here would be doing the same thing. They're taking that from, that type of refraction is from the stars. When the stars get, real close to the bottom of the horizon, they start wiggling and doing weird things because they're going through a thicker medium.
That's true, yes.
And they say that also happens with the sun, and that's why that refraction occurs. Well, that's over thousands and thousands of miles that you're seeing that take place, right? That's supposed to be like past the edge of the earth and way far beyond. So you're seeing the atmosphere at its furthest part, whereas terrestrial refraction, the refraction that would happen here on the earth, is much different. You're not looking through that many layers of atmosphere. According to the astronomical type of refraction, you're going through all the different layers of atmosphere as the noble gases break up. And yeah, of course there's going to be drastic refraction, but we don't have that down here on Earth. So we can't compare what the sun is doing to what is happening down here on Earth. It's totally different.
What about when looking over long distances because I wonder, and the other thing I keep hearing Glober say, I'm very confused by this, is that I just was listening to a Team Skeptic video or something. And he said, oh, when you rise up on the globe Earth, the horizon always drops. Well, that's just simply untrue. So I don't understand why these guys say these things. I get that they're, I guess, saying what they think must happen, but the reason that we say the horizon rises to eye level, and does it rise up to exactly your eye level? No, it'll be a little bit lower than that. But I wonder, is the cause of that the refraction dropping the horizon? And I'll give you an example of that in a second. But the globe Earth should never rise. I don't understand why the horizon would rise at all, ever. Right? You're getting up from it, and it should stay in the same location, and it should actually drop. Don't you think, or am I off on that one?
No, I think they take the idea of rising things from the actual observation of nature with the superior mirage and superior, inverted mirage, and things like that. In my opinion, I mean, of course, if you take these examples, always is going to be, a lower refraction. But in nature, we observe things that are beyond or higher than horizon line, and we call superior mirage. But always, and that is for me a critical factor, always is because the plane is level and you actually need the object there. The problem is that nobody ever seen a phenomena where the object rise up from lower than the horizon.
Right. From behind it or whatever.
Yeah, or behind or whatever, exactly.
Whatever they say, yes. But, I mean, because I do think it's vitally important, and I don't, this is one of those things where you start to bring it up and people get very upset because of what they were taught, and not necessarily they don't like the implications of thinking outside the box. But if we do have things that drop because they're coming to you through the atmosphere, which means that, and another way of looking at that, and I've tried to describe this before, is if you think of looking through a pane of glass, you can see through it. You wouldn't even really know you're looking through one. But then as we start stacking those panes of glass together, they're going to cause the view through the glass to get more and more and more distorted as you add more panes of glass. But I think that also the items that you see through those panes of glass would drop. Okay. Because I think that the light traveling, whether you want to say it's going one way or the other, it's falling as it gets more and more dense. And that is what we're seeing through. No matter if you're coming from, if you say the light's coming from the item, or if you say the light's, some people might think it's going from your eyes or whatever, doesn't matter. Either way, the items would drop. And so if the items drop, in my opinion, then that is the answer to all these problems with a theodolite, with a survey, with a transit, how, Jesse Kozlowski measures drop over a mile. Well, yeah, but if light coming to us drops in the distance, and then that would explain reciprocal zenith angles, it would, it would explain a lot of these things simply by the fact, which I believe, is that light travels, and then when it hits some sort of density change, if it's more dense, then it drops down. And if that's true, then you think about the buildings in Chicago across the water, and people ask all the time, well, why is some of the building covered by water? Well, if you think about it, the light from the bottom of those buildings that's traveling across the water is hitting the atmosphere, it's falling down, and then it hits the water, in which case we would never see it. We're not going to see it because the light never reached us. So if that's the case, then I don't know if it's your brain or something, would have to replace what is missing from the image, and maybe it replaces it by water. Who knows? I mean, there's a lot of options here or ideas, but what I certainly don't see at all is what Glober's claim is going on. I don't understand how you can have items that are rising due to refraction. And that's what they claim, is that the reason we're able to see over the curve is because things are being lifted due to refraction, which again, is just not something I ever see happening. I want to show you this video. I got to find it. It's a ways back in my Odyssey because it's not on my YouTube channel. But if people remember, I did a short video a while back, this is probably years ago, on refraction, showing the the arrow trick when you look through a bottle of water or a glass of water. And I showed that. What is this one by? Oh yeah, and this is a refraction experiment by not by Life is Short, but by who was the guy's name? Triple R Research Royal Rife. That's right. Haven't talked to him in a while. Let me see here if I can find this video. But Zach, why don't you talk real quick about, because explain what happened in your warehouse experiment, which I think was hugely important to me because it actually shows what we saw yesterday at Monterey Bay. You know what I'm talking about? You did the film canisters, I think. Am I not on? Let me see. Where did it go? Zach, you're on mute, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to show this other video real quick.
Sure.
That shows the phenomena I'm talking about.
Okay.
It's Rayleigh's criterion. So this is your angular resolution limit. And this is it actually in a experimental form where some students at Brigham Young University, so they're shooting 2 laser beams down a hallway, bouncing it off a mirror and catching it back. And what they're going to do is they're going to change this little thing right here. That's the aperture. And they can change the size of the aperture. And when they shrink it, they're going to show how these 2 distinct dots merge together and become one dot. And this is what happens with your eyes, with all kinds, with your camera, anything with a circular aperture. Okay, come on. Where is he? So, okay, so she's going to open it up real big. And they're going to show, see how you see the two different dots there. Now as she's going to close it, and those two dots merge together and become one blob.
Yeah, Dave Weiss shows the video of the trains coming at you, and it looks like one dot coming at you, and as it gets closer and closer, all of a sudden you see it's like 6 lights, and one of them's or 2 of the side lights are like long, skinny ones. They're not even circles at all.
Yeah, so I mean, we see this every day all around us. We just never I never knew my eyes did this until Flat Earth, and I started researching it. But yeah, here's I did multiple lid experiments, so it wasn't just like a one-off thing. You can see it mirroring. Let me back up just a hair here and get this whole picture in. You could see the middle is probably right around here. This wasn't too bad of a day, but you can see how it's mirroring here. This object that's up here appeared again down here.
Right, that's exactly what we saw.
And you have all this going on right along the horizon. Here was another one where this is where the line would be. But all of this, it looks like the water line might be here.
Right. And see, the problem with it is when you're looking for a mirror flash, you are scanning the water line, not the...
Could be looking up here, thinking that it's up here, when it's really way down here.
Yeah, so that makes
this is where the actual floor is, where the lids are meeting the floor. I mean, look at that. That's an actual lid that looks like this. And you come back here and, I mean, that if you put a light in there, it'd be gone.
Yeah, I don't think you can see through that. It's kind of strange, but I've never seen it. Oops, let me get that out of the way. Sorry,
and then here's one of the Chicago skyline where you don't see much of the bottom here. And you would guess that the water line's right here, right?
Right.
But then you go out on a nice clear day, and that water line would have been up here somewhere.
Right.
Like right up here.
Right, and it does fluctuate. Like,
this?
so if we show, if people can show that water line moving from the same location, take your camera out to, let's say you live near there, and you took your camera out and showed it at several different heights. I mean, that is a huge globe issue, because they shouldn't have varying heights. It should be, the water's clearly not filling up and lowering that much. But yeah, I've seen many different pictures of that from Chicago, where sometimes it's way up high, sometimes it's in the middle, sometimes it's very low. And this is all to do with, they call it perspective hijacking, because it is taking perspective and calling it curvature. And then this is the one quote was said, the air temperature was I thought that was saying something. But yeah, it's that weird mirroring that you get. It's almost like the water gets at too much of a angle that is almost identical to the angle of your eye. So it's almost like a flat, how would I describe it? Like if you were to take a board and put it up inclined and then put a camera on that board, how it would look to that board as it goes up, and then it hits that spot. And that's when Zack shows you his video from his warehouse, you'll definitely see what I'm talking about as far as the ramping up and then the ramping down.
Oh yeah, I'll bring that one up. That one's right.
Yeah, that's a great one. And I'm trying to see here something over here. Oh, and I've got my video ready whenever you want me to play that one.
Yeah, here's that one. I just go to the end where the pictures are. Yeah, you can see them ramping up and then ramping down here, but really they're all level. I'll go by here at the beginning and show that they're all on a nice flat floor, spread out pretty far. I think these were maybe 8-foot concrete planks.
Ah.
Something like that. That last one was a little bit close together. But yeah, once it gets down to the end, something like right around here, something weird starts happening. This isn't the side I get the good image of because it's so dark back here. When we go to the other side, yeah, you can see the mirroring taking place right here. This is where the floor actually is, right here. all this right here is really concrete. This isn't right here. This right here is in the foreground.
Yeah.
That's way close to us. But all this is in the background of these lids. And you can see right here, see that arc?
Yeah, that's a half and a half.
Through here is where it breaks.
Right.
Right there is the ground.
So if
you'll see that.
And if we put a light at the end of that flooring, then it would.
I know. I wish I would have.
It wouldn't be seen because it's blocked by the doubling.
Yeah, that diffraction limit takes over, and all light in there just kind of merges together and gets blurred out. The light right through here. This is your diffraction zone. All this stuff going on where really the floor, this should be concrete right here.
Right. And you can see the doubling on the wall over there, the two little white dots over by that. Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
And it becomes difficult to see because if you look at that garbage can, it would appear to you that there is no doubling.
Yeah, it's just straight almost.
But there is.
But it'd be hard to tell because there's not really any light. It looks like right here. I can see a curve.
So think about the problem that we have when we're looking across water, that you just have water and then land features. But when you're talking 24 miles, that's another thing people were shocked at. I mean, 24 miles is a long freaking way. Think about, a city or something that's 24 miles from you. And then picture you're trying to, basically observe it with a camera. It's going to be quite difficult.
Even the buckets right here, this is like right here's the line straight across. Mm-hmm. That's the middle of the floors right here. Even the buckets over here come down beyond that line.
They're doubling.
So it's like everything doubles. Yeah. It'd be really hard to see anything when that's taking place.
Yeah. I'll show, and I don't know if Mark's here or if Andrew's here or anybody else that was there yesterday, but I do have one of our questions answered now. I just looked I just got home. So we couldn't look at this yesterday at all, but we were perfect at when we were looking at the lowest peak. I just realized that, just so you guys can see, because we couldn't figure out if we were looking, oops, let me fix this and move this and snap that in. What are you doing? I want this thing up here. Okay, thank you. So one of the problems that you always have is not knowing if you're looking in the right direction. And you talk about crazy. So we had one iPhone, mine, we had an Android, and we had a app. And we all pulled it out. We all wanted to figure out if we were looking in the right direction. We got 3 drastically different directions it was 357 degrees from the New Brighton looking at the cameras where they were going to be flashing, and we were looking at 177 degrees going back the other way. But the problem is that we were getting a range of anywhere from, oops, you can't see high enough there. Let me lower this down. Well, that's not exactly what I wanted. Can we get this picture up higher? Hold on. Let me see if I can get my view to look up. No, up in the sky. Thank you. All right. So everything that we were seeing was basically, move over here. We thought we were within this tall peak here and the lowest peak. So we were kind of sweeping back and forth in this area. And now I realize that it was exactly at the lowest spot. So if you kind of take it back to, oops, get in here. We weren't even looking at the right place there, Jeran. Let's spin around. Why can't I see this? It's on the other page. Oh, I can do it from here. Okay. Nope, this way. There we go. So now we turn around and we look over here. So we thought everything that we were looking at was, as far as we could determine, was between the lowest spot. There we go. Here, and this high peak. So we knew we were kind of in this region. But now knowing, this is what we wanted to know yesterday. If I could have known what I know now, which is it's exactly at that low point, which we did think at one time, we're pretty sure it's at that low point. But if we draw from there, and you'll see that this is going to go right to, oops, hold on. I'm not even looking in the right spot. It's over here. Oops. Okay, New Brighton's over here in this corner. There's New Brighton. So we had gone to about, we didn't get close to here. We kind of were down right about here. We set up the 2 sticks here, and let's put it there. So now you'll see if we pull back that there's the low spot I'm talking about. So we could, and they were very defined points where we were able to say, okay, we're looking directly at that low spot. Let's get back here and there. Boom. So if you get down here now, you look over there, you'll see that between this highest peak and here, we were correct in that area, but we should have been right at the lowest point. That's where we should have been looking. And we just didn't know. So you're sweeping back and forth, and then you don't know if you're looking too high or too low because, and I'll show you the videos, that you just get this doubling. And if you look at the bottom of that, well, that's clearly, you know, like what Zack was showing, that's the bottom of those canisters. So that's not where the light would be. You know, the light would be wherever the horizon would be, which would be a little bit higher, I think. So again, it's one of those questionable things. But now, I mean, we need to go back in December or January for number one, because it needs to be cold so that you don't have that hot layer above the water. And then it needs to be, we need to know which direction we're looking. And this is one thing we thought we'd be fine with compass directions. But again, when we went out, let me show you just to give you an example of how weird it is. And I don't understand why that is. And the other thing is your iPhone asks you whether or not to use, what is it called? True North. And it changes drastically. So I don't really know. I guess you just have to agree on one. I don't think it really necessarily matters, but it's quite a big difference. So coming around this way, when we got there in the morning, we knew we needed to look at, don't go past there. And you're talking about the difference of, like, you know, my phone would be off in this direction and it would show 357. And then his would be here looking like this at 357. So we had, you know, and who's to say which one is right? So we just kind of said, okay, well, we know it's, you know, over there. Then over on this side, again, it gave us a variance between those two peaks. So that's the best we could do, is narrow it down to that spot. And then when you do see a mirror flash, it's so obvious that you think, okay, well, we'll see it. But when it's as bad as it was, and you'll see at one point we thought we for sure saw it. And what was weird about it is this doubling. We saw the flash and we saw right above it the flash. And I was like, oh, it's just, now we're seeing both. It's just doubling it. And then we told them, stop flashing. And then like, all right, we stopped. We're like, damn it, because we still saw the flash. So like, that ain't it. But we went back and forth. So anyway, let's start out with a quick video by Iru. He did an awesome, oh wait, I didn't even introduce him. Iru Landucci in the house. Iru, ¿cómo estás, mi amigo?
Estoy muy bien, Jeran. Muchas gracias.
I forgot about you.
Very good. Thank you so much. I come back after almost 25 days with my brother and my mother. They came to visit me, and that was why I was out of my usual activity.
Did you tell them Globebusters?
Especially in Globebusters.
Globebusters said hi. Did you tell them that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Just make
Hello.
sure. Hello.
Yeah. Now that in particular, because at weekends we went out of the house to visit some cities or some places, and when I come back, it was too late to participate, and the house was full of people going around and things like that. So I decided to take a little holidays of everything, you know.
A little time away, but we're glad you're back.
Thank you.
Yes. So just drawing this line real quick here so I can check one thing. But yeah, I mean, and Google Earth on your phone doesn't actually work the same. We were trying to look at it from our phones to see what peak should we be looking at. I just wish I would have had access to this yesterday, because it would have been very helpful to be at least dialed in to the right spot. And I just want to check one more time, but I'm pretty sure it is that low peak, which was very easily determinable. That's what's kind of frustrating about it now, is it's like, yeah, it is. It's like right at it, man. So we were pretty good, a little less than but to scan this whole area. And again, if people have never been out there and actually done this is not as easy as you think. When you have a camera zoomed in completely, I mean, it takes a while to scan this whole, area here. So anyway, let's start out, because Iru put out a great video yesterday. It's not about refraction, but it's still very good. And I think it'd be a good start. And I'm going to go out and get my camera and plug that in so that I can show you some of the footage, and we will go from there. So let's see here, this one. All right, let's watch this. This is a new special by Iru over on Rockfin if you're looking for it. And it is in English. So let's listen here. All right, see you in a few. Be right back.
At some point down the line, the narrative changed to be around climate. What was the narrative prior to that? What was the justification they were giving in order to push, this kind of more control from the top down?
Yeah, immediately preceding climate and environment, actually the Cold War was the pretext for having this incredibly large, incredibly powerful federal government. In fact, you see a very clear break when the Club of Rome met in 1991 as the Soviet state and the Eastern European communist states were collapsing. The Club of Rome, very, very powerful elitists. Obviously, Mikhail Gorbachev was there. You had many prominent Americans, people like Al Gore. They got together and they came up with this incredible document where they actually said we need a new justification for this all-powerful state. So the new excuse is going to be because the environment is going to be harmed and because climate is going to hurt us.
Wait, what? I could not believe what I just heard. Did world leaders really lay out this globalist plan in plain English in a physical book way back in 1991? I went on Amazon, and there it was, The First Global Revolution, which states, and I quote, "In searching for a common enemy to unite us, we came up with the idea that pollution, the threat of global warming, water shortages, famine, and the like would fit the bill. And therefore, the real enemy is humanity itself."
The science is clear. We are getting dangerously close to the point of no return.
The science is very clear. This natural world is severely endangered.
Code Red for Humanity is not a group of political officials, elected officials. These are the scientists.
There is a top-down quality to this policy which is extremely forceful, and the forcefulness comes from scientism, which is the ideology that we understand the world fully because of science. We have to listen to the science so that we have a better future for tomorrow. This is just ideological BS, and it's also quite dangerous. It's a dangerous way of looking at the world because then it means nothing matters apart from science. Culture doesn't matter, history doesn't matter, religion doesn't matter, social interaction doesn't matter, nothing matters but science. You don't need to be a theologian or philosopher to understand that that's complete nonsense, but also dangerous nonsense. If nothing matters than just science, then what kind of a world do we actually live in?
History is truly at a turning point. In times of crisis, the role of governments is more important and more relevant than ever.
The World Economic Forum is actually a critical part of implementing this UN agenda. Some years ago, they became a strategic partner of the UN in the implementation of Agenda 2030. And then you start looking at the connections between the World Economic Forum and China. Klaus Schwab and Xi Jinping, they're like old buddies. They put out press releases about how much they love each other. So you've got the super capitalists represented by the World Economic Forum. And then on the government side, you have communists. Right? After Agenda 2030 was adopted, the Communist Party in China put out through all their propaganda organs, they said, we played a critical role in this Agenda 2030. You had Javier Solana, the head of NATO, saying this was going to be the next great leap forward, right? The last great leap forward in China killed millions of people. Why would we want another one of those? That's crazy. So you have communists and super capitalists all coming together and working on this one sustainable development agenda. And that should make us all pause and say, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense on the surface. What's going on here?
China is a powerful example of what can be achieved when national governments make environmental protection a top priority.
The motivations of those who are pushing this agenda, many of them tend to emulate countries like China, which have abysmal environmental records. This is a country that has massive pollution problems. They don't seem to care about rivers and lakes and streams. There's all sorts of toxins pouring into them. In actuality, I would say their envy of China is more to do with their control over their population and control over politics than it has to do with the environment. In looking at this, it looks like the environment's a tool to achieve power more than it is an end goal of itself to actually protect nature.
When you start to see people like Bill Gates gobble up farmland, and you read what his foundation says about farming, when they say that we're going to have a particular type of agriculture, they want large blocks run by the government or by private consortia where they say we're not going to have animal-based proteins, we're not going to have stockyards, we're not going to have turkey farms, we're not going to have chicken. The academic mind always has the answers, but never in the real world. And they do a lot of damage.
Everywhere you look, small and medium-sized farms being gobbled up by these corporate mega farms because they can't keep up anymore. They can't comply with these endless streams of regulations that are coming down. We're seeing that in China now, where these giant mechanized corporate big government-controlled mega farms are displacing all these little small family farms that families have been farming for hundreds of years, in some cases longer. They're moving them all off their little plots of land and moving them into these big, horrific mega cities that they have built. And we're going to see that all over the world with the decimation of small farms. So if they're not bankrupted by economic forces, the government itself will shut them down.
Everything is falling apart. There is a shortage of food. Many people do not have enough money to eat every day.
Everybody's out here today because they understand that when our government actually expropriates our farmers, we're all next.
Not just Holland is now facing these types of regulations, but you can see the attack on farmers all over the world. It's an agenda that is carried out on a global level, that is being pushed through government officials in respective countries.
This is precisely how the globalists have managed to take over national parliaments and national governments.
20 countries equal 80% of all the emissions. You solve the problem to start with by making sure all of those 20 countries are doing what they need to do. We have to pull them to the table and leverage further. So how do we get there? Well, the lesson I've learned in the last year is money, 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 money.
They're following a script where they are thinking already from the perspective of a global, bureaucratic, quasi-totalitarian system of governing, system of rules. This is an agenda, and all these countries are implementing the same policies. So they've targeted the farmers because that's the agenda.
Right now, things have tripled as far as costs for my own farming operation and for many farmers across the country. And I think you're going to see across the board higher food prices.
Food prices are already up dramatically this year, last year a little bit too, and we might see more empty shelves in America. Even the president is promising food shortages in his conversations, so there's no need for this to be happening. The people are the ones that are going to be hurt. Not just farmers, trying to make a living. It's going to be the food supply of this country, which is a staple of our security of our nation, being able to grow the grain and the crops that we do, that not only supplies us, but our allies and other trading partners around the world.
We have 8 billion people on the planet now, and that's sustainable if they allow agriculture to continue to be mechanized and genetically altered. And I don't think they understand that if they tamper with that, you're going to have people go hungry.
We are headed into, I think, a time of very significant food shortages. Can we expect to see massive increases in food prices next year? Oh, no question about it. So I think the end goal of the war on farmers that we're seeing, which is guided at every step by the Sustainable Development Goals and Agenda 2030, is going to be a total consolidation of agriculture, a total consolidation of the food supply, and as every communist tyrant of the last 100 years has understood, if you control the food, you control the people. I think that's ultimately the end goal.
All right. Thank you, Iru, very much. You have any comments on that?
Well, completely agree what the basis of the little report, but like the guy mentioned at the end, controlling the food is the way to control any organism, I think, in the living being, in this existence, or in this plane of existence, right? I mean, you can do a lot of things for pleasure, but that is because you already have your stomach full. If not, it doesn't matter if you have a Ferrari or you are the most millionaire person in the world. If you don't have food, you are nothing. Nobody can live from prana all the time. Even the highest priest of Buddhism or whatever. So they are very clever in that. And of course, I think in this not final step, but the next step, the next big step is controlling the food supply without any question. In fact, I live in the first person in some way, because I came from Argentina, where right now, of course, you don't know about it, but right now, in I think 3 weeks, we have a new presidential elections, and from the last year to our actual day, the inflation grows like 800%. Is the most difficult time of Argentina from the foundation of Argentina, and it's crazy. The guy who running for president and maybe he wants is like the mirror of Donald Trump. It's calling Javier Milei. He's a pro-Zionist Jew guy, but in terms of like Donald Trump, I support 100%. We're gonna fight. We're gonna give money to Israel if it's needed, etc., etc. He promised to white out the politicians and the
drain the swamp.
How you say the swamp? Draining the swamp. The same tactics. And when I came here to Europe at the first time, when I just looking the food prices was crazy for me. Because here, right now, I'm a little stable, but at the beginning, my concern was about buying food with the credit card or with my salary in Argentina. And at 35 years old, thinking in that, it's a little depressed, So I think the food is a really important topic to control people without any doubt.
Yeah, it's just, luckily the beginning of that video was great, having the guy say, wait, what's going on here? Did these guys really write these plans? And then he read from that book, and it says exactly that they're going to make the, humanity the problem of humanity. They're going to use climate change. They're going to use, and then when it comes around, and still people think that if you are anti-climate change, that you're some sort of conspiracy theorist, which conspiracy means people getting together and deciding something, to get one over on you. And that's exactly what they wrote in the book. It's exactly what's going on. So there's no conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy in action. And yet they've dumbed down this country so much and dumbed down people that people think, as soon as you think conspiracy theory, that's crazy. That would never happen. People never get together, when everything that goes on in our daily lives is a conspiracy. It is. That's the pricing of gas, the pricing of food, everything is a conspiracy. It's multiple people getting together and deciding on something that is going to hurt you in the long run.
Yeah, and in fact, they don't mention, for example, the Toronto Protocols. We give a Spanish presentation, I think like 8 months ago, and that's very interesting because in the Toronto Protocols, they talk about, first of all, we need to take out the people from the farm to the cities. And making them losing the connection, and the educational system is not based to learn really tools to help us to grow and develop in life, like fixing a car or getting our own food. So they prepare very, very quietly this at least this exodus, I don't know how to say in English, from the farms to the cities. And once you are there, you are in a prison, and you don't know how to escape. And if you do, you don't know how to survive,
Right. And then if they start having social credit scores, and then you need this certain score in order to eat, well, then you're going to choose always to eat rather than not. And so then you're basically having to conform to the government's rules of whatever they want you to do, however they want you to be. So it's pretty scary. I don't know if anybody's got any real good ideas, any action plans, but I think, we're on the right track by exposing it all. You're on the right track by making this video, getting this out to people. Is it enough? Probably not. So what do we need to do beyond that? But I thought it was a great video. You do more things like that. It's fantastic.
Thank you, man.
I think one thing that we can do for sure is learn your plants. Learn your wild edible plants that are in your area. There's some here in North America that I found all across the country. And all three are in abundance pretty much all across the country. And that's dandelions, wood sorrel, and clover. Those three plants, you can eat every part of the plant. And you still need your protein. You need some type of protein. But those three wild plants have probably more vitamins and minerals in it than any fruit or vegetable you're going to go buy at the store. And that's another way that they've dumbed us down. They got us calling these things weeds and acting like it's a nuisance when it's some of the most abundantly nutrient food that we could eat. And we kill it to grow grass, something we can't eat. So if you're one of those people that likes your grass and grows a lot of grass in your yard and kills all those, weeds, one of the worst 4-letter words out there, weed. Yeah, think about that. You can't eat the grass. If the grocery stores go empty, I can eat like half of our yard. Go out there, and then you have to learn how to pick it too. You never take more than you need, and you never take it all from one spot. You want to let it be bountiful in that area, and as you pick a little bit off, it'll regrow that. So yeah, there's all kinds of little tricks and trades about, finding food, and it's always out there. That's why nobody should ever go hungry. There's enough food growing wild everywhere.
Yeah, if cities cared about us, if governments did, there would be, Main Street would be lined with fruit trees so that homeless could eat.
Everywhere.
So, right.
Fruits,
there's no
nuts,
reason why you wouldn't do that.
They'd be everywhere. Oh, yeah.
Unless you really, and again, I've always said it before, that they need the poor, they need the homeless because they need to scare the middle class to keep working their 9 to 5s. The second that there is no homeless and there is no real big deal, if you stop working, then everybody would just stop working. So they have to keep it. And then they have the elite afraid of becoming the middle class. So they kind of just keep everybody in this fear, and it seems to work well. So we're going to watch this 6-minute video real quick. I think we'll watch the whole thing. I know I wanted to see the beginning of it for sure from what I remember from it. And then we can look at, my pictures are transferring over to my desktop as we speak. So let's play this. We'll be right back in 4 or 5 minutes. I think I'll stop it a little bit early. What's going on, everyone? Jeran from Jeranism here, and we've all seen the arrow behind the water trick before, right? Well, let's pick it apart a little. Watch the arrow closely and tell me, does it drop or rise? Clearly, the arrow drops. Here I'm going to lay an overlay over to show that the image does definitely appear lower. Why? Well, because we're looking into a more dense medium. Let's place a horizon line behind the glass. Since our air can be seen as a liquid, and when we look off into the distance, could this be the cause that the horizon lowers? Does this curved horizon match our reality? Close, but we have a problem. You see, the arrow and the horizon are flipped. The water flips the image, and that doesn't happen in reality. Well, or does it? Let's switch glasses here to a square glass. Aha, there we go. Now we see a dropped horizon in the distance, and we see a non-flipped image. In fact, we're starting to see some Fata Morgana effects as well. So exactly how does this compare to reality? Well, when we're on a beach looking at the horizon, we are looking through a large slab or a box of air with increasing density, which means where you stand is the least heavy density. As you look out and across the water, the density increases, as we have seen. Images will drop down. And if you really want something interesting, here's some food for thought. When you're at the beach looking out or across the water, you're in the lowest amount of atmosphere, trying to see something that is through the heaviest amount of atmosphere, and things will appear to lower. Now, when you are... So hopefully that makes sense to people, because it might be confusing. What I'm saying by the least amount of atmosphere and the most is that if you're standing here, what's in front of your eyes is the least amount of atmosphere, blockage, and what you're looking at, let's say it's through this box, you're looking at mountains over here, whatever, is the most amount of atmosphere because you're looking through all of it. And to me, it just seems to make sense that things retard when they hit a denser medium, right? So as the item is over here and the light's coming to your eye, it's going to retard and go down. Now, why they say that means we'll see it above when we've never seen that, I don't know. Okay, let's continue. Oops, what am I doing? Didn't mean to click that. There we go. Let's play. Are looking straight up from where you are, you're actually in the heaviest or densest part of the atmosphere, looking into the least dense part of the atmosphere straight above your head. So when you understand both those predicaments and that they coexist, then you'll understand that you really kind of do exist in your own personal atmospheric dome. Now, we have seen that viewing objects through a square glass results in that object being seen lower and that the object will not be flipped. But we also know that the curved glass that causes images to be seen lower as well also shows those images as reversed. Anyone have anywhere where they've seen things flipped in our reality? Yes, I'm talking about the counter-rotation of the stars, but there is so much more that this could help us uncover. Now, you could simply call it crazy because it goes against your deeply held religious beliefs, and so you may choose the mainstream explanation instead. Then you'll be told that light must be a wave and a particle, because that makes sense. They'll tell you that light is always traveling at the imaginary speed of light, but it slows down? How does it exit at the speed of light if it's slowed down? Well, it didn't slow down. See, it became a particle, and then, still tracking at the speed of light, it decided to dance with other particles before exiting again as a wave at the speed of light, breaking the second law of thermodynamics, but who's counting, right? Say we have a box and we add water. Then we shoot a light beam, and it slows down when it hits the water, but then exits at the speed of light again? Well, you can believe that if you want. I find it to be madness. Typical ad hoc nonsense, theories pushed. And I think I've changed my mind on that now, that this is why I think Austin's explanation of what's going on with light makes more sense than clearly the traveling of light, the slowing down of light, and then the magical speeding up of light again. Where did it get the energy to speed up again? That breaks laws that we know can't be broken. So the idea of it always being there certainly seems to make more sense as fact. And we need to now think, is it possible that we are seeing things flipped in our personal atmospheric ordered domes? Well, just another question that needs testing. But what's clear? Well, clearly all things in the distance drop off because the atmosphere that we view through is increasing in density. So geodetic surveyors, they definitely take this drop into account, right? They take it into account, right? Oh boy. Nope, actually, they don't. Even though we just proved it, they simply ignore it. Wouldn't want a little truth mucking up your 400-year-old deception now, would you? So, to me, I think, just in that one little practical example, the horizon line is clearly dropping, at which point you would think any item in the distance away from you, of any distance, is going to drop. And at what rate? Well, I'll bet you it drops at the rate of 8 inches per mile squared, because that's the rate that they call curvature, which is the actual rate that I think that we lose things, and that's why they're able to estimate that. That's why they're able to use mathematics to come up with it. But really what's happening is just you have light traveling, or at least propagating, and when it gets to that dense medium, it's bending down. So every horizon that we see is lower, and every item that we see is lower than it actually is, and therefore anybody who's using a transit or a theodolite, or even this could explain the Bedford level experiment, when you're looking off into the distance, items drop. They're taking that drop and calling it curvature. But it's not curvature. It is just the drop, unless you want to say that my this item here is because of curvature. Is that why this item dropped here? Think about it. If a Jesse Kozlowski was here with his transit or his theodolite, and he was measuring, let's say this water's up higher somehow. Or let's say it's a mountain. Okay, it's a mountain top. There's a mountain top, and you're looking off into the distance, and you say, okay, I want to, I'm at 17 feet high, and that mountain should be at 50 feet high or whatever. And so you would think that you could draw a straight line between those things, but we've just seen that because the item exists far away from you, it's going to drop. In which case, again, they're going to calculate that and say, oh, here's where it should be. It's actually here. Therefore, the Earth is curved X amount because of the drop that we're measuring. Clearly, we're measuring it with our transit device. Clearly, we're measuring it with our telescope here. But again, you're measuring it, but is what we see where things actually are? And clearly it appears that that's not the case. We can watch here that clearly the line is right there. And clearly when you put an atmosphere in front of it, you're going to now see it as lower. So to me, it just explains so much. And yet we can't even get Globers to agree that things lower. They're just going to tell us that things rise up. But I've never seen that. Like Ira said, even if you do see a rising due to a mirage, what you don't see is ever anything from behind some obstacle popping up over it. So anyway, wanted to talk about that. Let me see. I do have some stuff downloaded here. Let me bring this over to the pot player. And okay, so this is one of the first videos, and right away you can see the problem that we have. This is infrared, by the way. This is the infrared P900 converted. We had a camera next to me that was a P950 who was not, didn't see as far as I did. And actually, it's true that the refraction, the infrared camera can see way better. It's not even a question. When you look at his footage and you look at mine, you could see that I'm seeing through it better than he is. Exist in your own. Sorry, that's the wrong thing to press play on. Where is this one over here? There we go. So, and you can kind of see, you'll be able to see these mountains up here as I zoom in and out. But when you get down in there, this is the doubling that we saw. Now I'm seeing it even more than I saw it out there. And if you remember where we were, the sun was behind us. So if you've ever tried to look through a viewfinder of a camera with a sun right behind you, it's not easy. So we were having a hard time even seeing through our little displays, whatever you call a little flip display. But see, now I'm seeing things like that there, but that's not a flash. And you'll see it shortly here in a second. See this? I just saw a car go by up top. See, I see cars now. I didn't see those there. But you can see we have a problem with the doubling. We're just seeing a lot of repeating, and it's almost like, I don't really want to analyze it on the fly, but I wanted to see that over here. Like that looks like it's doubling here. Hope you can't see my mouse. Here.
Yeah, it looks like it's happened in multiple places.
Yeah, and at multiple heights too. And it just becomes difficult to see. So if we're looking down here at the very water's edge, looking for the flash, the mirror flash, now I'm wondering could the horizon be higher if the boat is showing here? Again, it's just kind of hard to know what exactly we are looking at. Let me zoom out a little bit so you can see. Let's see. So here's me zooming out. And the other thing is you can't even use boats because technically speaking, I don't think we can see boats that they can see and they can't see boats that we can see. But see all this, that's just repeating. Everything is just repeating along. This is almost like the horizon line is up here, but then you see it also here. See the duplication here, this, you can see this duplicate. Oh gosh, I'm not showing my mouse over here. So this duplication, this is not duplicating. Yeah, that is, we had a weird condition and it was a great day. That's the sad part about it is it's nice day. It was probably 80. Oh, I think we took the temperature at that side. It was 83 at the water and 84 about 10 feet up. But look, that's right there. Let me pause that. This right here, clearly a repeating, clearly multiple, duplicating. So we just weren't able to see. And again, I don't think I've ever seen anything be seen through that. So like if there is somebody flashing a mirror from behind there, look at that doubling of that line. Wow. Unbelievable. So now, that was a good view of the, let me go back.
Something I could pull up real quick, Jeran.
Yeah.
I have this happening on multiple levels and it's just a really wavy road that goes over a swamp back in Indiana.
Sure. We want to bring it up. Tell me. Oh yeah, there you go. I see it.
You can see how bumpy it is. It's really
okay. There you go.
Because it didn't settle in right.
Okay, we see you.
So you have all these different that are creating that diffraction line because sometimes the hill is going up and you can see the hill, but as it bends over and starts going back down, that ground flattens out again and then makes that angle where your eye can't differentiate anymore. So you're seeing that happen on multiple tiers here. So maybe what you're seeing is a lot of different flat spots on the side of that hill that are kind of creating that diffraction line there.
Could be. Yeah, and it's just it's sad when you get out there and see that because you're like, oh great, you kind of already know ahead of time, like
that it's going to be a bad day.
Yeah, it was a nice day, and it's clear. It's a nice day. So it's not like we got there and it's overcast or somewhere like, oh man, there's too much atmosphere to look through. We got there and it's beautiful, and people are complaining it's too hot, if anything. And it's always difficult. And I'm not trying to blame people. It's nobody's job to go out there and do it with us, but we wanted to get as many mirrors as we possibly could out there. And I think talking to the guys yesterday, at most we had 2 people flashing at one time. That was the most we had. And it's because people treat these things like meetups. So they want to talk and have a good time and go back to the car and do this. And nobody wants to actually buckle down when we say, okay, for the next 5 minutes, flash your mirrors. It just doesn't, I'm not over there. Not that I'm an authority figure anyway. If I was over there, people probably wouldn't listen to me anyway. So it just becomes difficult when we don't have, again, that's not the reason. If we would have had 50 mirrors there, we probably wouldn't have seen anything, and we probably would have 50 upset people that they showed up. So again, it's not really true that, just with that we would have been, but it would be at least easier to say, okay, well, we should, hold on, I got to play this one. So we got this. I'm just trying to see if there's any other videos. I just grabbed this from the car, so I haven't seen any of this. We're watching it all in real time. Let me pull this one over. There we go. Oh yeah, this is so much more clear. We couldn't even tell what that was. It's a boat. we couldn't see what that was in the viewfinder. We're like, what is that white thing? We couldn't tell if it was moving. Wow. It was a boat. So let's see here. Yeah, I mean, we're losing. Look at all this is like just a duplication. But I also see, like you said, Zach, I see it up here, but then you don't see it there. We don't see any boat. We never saw a boat flip or anything like that. It was just things on the right at the shore there. But you can see that.
Yeah, and the land that we're actually inverting. And
here, right here, that's a duplication. You can see that. Oops. Don't move that. There.
That's wild. I've never seen that before like that.
Oh, we've seen it a couple times. It's Salton Sea we saw. And again, it was like pissed us off. But at the same time, I was like, well, it makes sense. Salton Sea is 200 feet below sea level. It's June. You know, I mean, this was October at the Monterey Bay. I mean, there's just really no reason for, at least that I could tell, just other than it must have been, the water must have been really cold. By the way, it's always cold in, you know, the Pacific Ocean. It's freezing. And then you get this hot day above it. So you get, like I said, it was 84. That was it. It was 84 at 10:30 at the beach.
Wow.
So, I mean, it was just a nice day, and it was like, oh, great, this is going to be fun. But I actually thought we would still see it. I thought that, I didn't think we'd get this. Oh, yeah, look at that. You can totally see this duplication here all along this line. So now, you know, I guess now that I think about it, there's no reason why the horizon would be up here. We shouldn't be looking up here for the light. It should be at the water line. But the problem with that is, again, if you have this duplicating, then you're not going to see anything that's behind it. Even if you had the brightest light ever, I don't think it shines through that. At least that I've ever seen. I've never seen like this duplicating and then us be able to determine something is behind it. Usually when we see a mirror flash, it's because there is none of this duplication. And
well, if they say that kind of stuff happens, then where's the light from the lighthouse? Because they say the lighthouse is being refracted up and we should only see the top part of the lighthouse. Well, yeah, if we're seeing that, we should still see the top part of the lighthouse, and that bright light that's actually there, not the refracted image, should be shining, and we should see it, but we never do. Yeah, so I don't think they can say, well, that light would pass through there, because, well, then that debunks your whole lighthouse theory, that it's being refracted up.
And I mean, this is about the most that we ever saw a boat that you would say went over the curve, which you should see little sails like this poking up. Technically, because we are 24 miles away. So at 24 miles, you're going to have such a drop that, and I don't even know what the drop is off the top of my head. Let me go look that up before I make up a number. So I don't know what the drop rate is on, let's go to Metabunk curve. I don't know what the drop is.
180 feet maybe, something like that. That's just a guess off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think it's going to be something around that high. So let's see, distance in miles, let's say 24, and viewer height, we were at about 40 if you include the camera. So let's go advanced. So the geometric drop, 384 feet. Geometric drop. Wow, that's a ton. And even a refracted drop of 329 feet. So, I mean, that's crazy to think about. So you're talking about that much of a drop, then, I mean, you should definitely see little half sails, because what you're talking about is any boat that's over, but where does this put the horizon at? Does it give you a distance? Yeah. So the horizon is 8.37 miles away. So if it's only 8.37 and it's 24 miles to where they are, then there should be boats going over this curve. But we didn't see, I mean, this is probably the most that we'd seen. Let me press play and see if there's anything else there. Where's that little boat there? Is that thing moving there? No. What is that white thing right here? No, go back. I knew this was going to happen too. I was going to see things that I want to see closer, and I'm not going to have my camera on it because it's really tough to see. This double line right there. Oh, I just saw it again. I don't know what that is. Yeah, this boat, if it was going towards the other side. Now, the thing is that there's not a lot of boats that travel from the Monterey side to over where we're talking New Brighton. There's just nobody travels that way. People travel from the Monterey Bay out to the sea. So everybody's going to be basically going left to right from our perspective. We're not going to have a lot of people going that direction or coming towards us, which we never even saw. I never even saw a boat really coming towards me. Maybe that one we just saw about like this is about the closest you'd get was the sailboat. But again, clearly based on that, you would never, any boat that we were seeing from this side would never be seen from the other side. So it's even as hard as that is to understand, is since that, like that sailboat there, or this boat here, for example, if that was right in front of, between us and them, they wouldn't be able to see this boat, supposedly. But again, when you're talking 329 feet of supposed drop. So at 40 feet, let me make sure I'm having this right. At 40 feet viewer height, 24 distance, refracted drop or refracted hidden is 139. Yeah. So, I mean, again, no boat's going to be even that tall. So, and then of course it says at the bottom, which they added when we did the Salton Sea, not accurate for observations over water, very close to the horizon because, well, obvious reasons. Because we do see too far sometimes. Now, this is another one. I'm just going through some of these videos, and pretty soon we're going to come across the one that shows what we thought was the mirror flash, but it ended up not being that. But it almost looks like we do see that one through the haze. Oh, wait, can I go back to this? Yeah, there we go. Well, and you can see here I'm looking in the way wrong spot, because if we pull this back, this was the highest peak. This comes down like this, goes over here, and then there's a low peak over here to the left, which is where we just figured out with Google Earth is where we should have been looking. So right here, I'm way off. I'm not even close. So, and that's kind of what our compasses were telling us to look. But now looking at it, that we weren't even close. So that's kind of upsetting. But at the same time, I get, at least I feel better now. Next time we go, I know exactly where to look as far as the peaks and not worry so much about the compass, because obviously the compass was way off. I don't know if people have noticed that they're, an app might tell you one thing, iPhone might tell you something else, and an Android might tell you something else. I'm talking about like 7 degrees difference between 2 cameras and an app, or 2 phones and an app. Let me see if this one's any better. We got number 4 here. And basically, I would just record when I started to see that that's definitely duplicating. That's the same. Did we already watch this one? Maybe this is the one I just watched. Just trying to skip through these. I'm just trying to see if I can see a better view of that mountains. But again, I don't think we're going to see it even if we go through and watch all these. Let me go through another one. All right, this one. That one looks like it's, oh no, it's the second largest file. Give it a second. Oh, it's 4 minutes. Okay, go. Just seeing through here. Oh wait, that's the one. See, that's what we started seeing. And we're like, oh shit, we see you. That's exactly what a mirror flash looks like. And we told, if you listen to us, we tell them to stop. Yeah.
So that's where we're at. Stay there.
Okay, so there's that white boat. That refraction.
We are. Where am I?
I see the left of the boat. Yeah. Let me find that boat. Yeah, to the left. Yeah.
Okay, a minute. Can you call that number back and just tell them to keep going, because we do see them now? I lost it. Oh, come back. And it was really easy to see.
Yeah, I think we see you.
Yeah, we see you. It's right in front of the boat now. Yeah, I see you.
Yeah, the boat is about to pass in front of you guys, right?
Okay, wait. Can you guys, when I say stop, hey, when I say stop, can you stop flashing? Hello? All right, go ahead. Okay, stop flashing. Stop altogether. Stop flashing altogether for a second, so I can see if that's the spot. Please turn off. Oh. You stopped? Damn it, it's not it.
Oh, wait, no, you're the other way. Okay, now we stop.
Damn it, we still see it. Man, it looks like a mirror flash. Wow.
So weird that we're getting a duplicating there. That's clearly the same flash. I'm trying to watch it again. I wonder what that would be on that hill. I mean, a window, somebody's house window or something. I'm not really sure what would cause that kind of, that looks identical to a mirror flash.
Hey, when I say stop, can you?
But not one, obviously. That was weird. We weren't even looking high. And then we were like, wait a second. I think I see it's up high. Then we thought maybe that there's like here, you can actually see that duplication here, right? See this? It's like a mirroring here. I don't think that that's.
Yeah.
So like here, we thought maybe, wait, is this where the horizon is? And everything here is basically a reflection off the water, but clearly not because they stopped flashing and we didn't see it. So just to show you that, I mean, I've got a lot of other videos, but they're just going to be a lot of the same thing. Us attempting to scan. Let me go here. Oops, that's only there. And I did want to show if I did have a picture of the mountains when I zoom out. Okay, there we go. Come back. So, shoot. What happened? Go back to where we were. There. So this kind of gives you a better, it's still not a very good one because but that's the low spot. So they were actually right, a little bit to the right. They were right here. And unfortunately, and then you can see where the high spot is way over here to the right. And it's, let's see, get over there. I can see the other side. I'm not going to see it. But over here is that tall peak. And that's a pretty big swing. It's a pretty big swing of like 7 degrees that we were trying to cover all of it. Oh, I just want to see something. Did I zoom in right at the right spot? Come back. So I can see. This is a spot right here. So they're a little bit right. They're probably right here. No, I didn't. Still to the right. Damn it. And yeah, it's just all, I mean, look at how broken up that is. You don't see anything. You can't make out anything. It doesn't even look like trees. It just looks like, I don't even know what it looks like. Looks like the Matrix. But very, very peculiar. And I don't know how you get around that. And then that just sucks. It's so far away from me. It's a 2.5 hour drive. Is that it's not like I can just go over there and keep waiting for the right day. It's when we make a day to go over there and then we go over and we get this. It's kind of like, well, what do you do now? Pretty tough to see through that. And there you go. That's a good view of, well, I still don't even think that's the high peak. I think the high peak is over here. Yeah, there it is. So you can see what a big difference. We're basically scanning between here and the low peak. We determined that they were somewhere there. But that was really, and it seems like crazy, but it's the best we could do. Again, this is 24 miles away. This is way further than that. These mountains would be 30 miles away or something like that. So anyway, it will be interesting to go back out there again. I feel much better. I wish we were going out. Well, not today. When we left Monterey, it was completely overcast. In fact, if I would have got over the hill yesterday and the sky would have been like it was today, we wouldn't have even done it. It was that bad today. But if we can wait till December or January, again, the hard part about that, the sun is migrated to a point where we won't have a real big window of good mirror flash. I guess right around, yeah, maybe wherever it would cross. So right around noon, should be behind us pretty low. I guess we could still do it at noon. Yeah. So anyway, we'll just have to do it again and see if we can get a cooler day. Because this, I mean, I've been to this spot before and looked across and never seen it like this. And then, I wonder if I filmed, let me check one other thing. I did film the smokestacks, which are about 13 miles from, it was about 13? Yeah, about 13 miles from where I was, which is equivalent of where they were. So, it's basically to the right, meaning 12 miles away from me and 12 miles away from them, and then 24 across for both of us. But I was just seeing if I show it here. Just because those were super clear. But again, it's because that's close. That actually shows a good... Yeah, see, I mean, is that duplicating there? I mean, that's a huge... Yeah, it is. I mean, see, that's the same. This
yeah.
all
that's
duplication. Yeah, I mean, that's just impossible. I mean, now looking at it, it's like, we shouldn't even have stood out there as long as we did and tried to do this, because you're just not going to see through that. It's weird because I'm saying see through it, but it's it's on the other side. I mean, it's like the mirror flash, shouldn't it be in front of that? You see what I'm saying? Like, it's so weird to say you can't see through that, but really the mirror flash should be on this side if we're seeing a duplication of the mountains, which is behind the mirrors. So it's just kind of weird that it overtakes your visual, and it's definitely, I mean, it's not like, oh, well, my eyes, it's not there. And in fact, even with his P950, you really couldn't see this. You couldn't see the duplication because it's not as, you don't cut through the atmosphere like this camera does. Yeah, that's not what I thought it was there. Do I ever go over here? Here's the high peak there. That's kind of what I thought for sure they were at. I was way off. Way off. So I was doing most of my observing right there. And yeah, that's craziness. I don't know why. And it's crazy because I say it's so far, but it's like not that far. It's only 24 miles, but we can't even get things resolved. I mean, you could never pick something out. God, that looks like that. Where are we at looking? Pull back. Oh, there's a little house. Yes, I'm nowhere close though. There's a little like white barn or something that sits right at the ground at New Brighton, but I'm not even close. It's way over here to the left, way over. So anyway, just wanted to show people that and talk a little bit about refraction. Ira, did you say you had some refraction stuff you wanted to show or no? Don't remember if you had.
I have a few things as we can recap.
Yeah,
few things like in the past that because I did this presentation so many times, but you know.
And just one more time, I wanted to bring up just so people remember this. That remember the floating boats, which the actual answer for that is a lowered horizon line. So this is what people don't get is that let me bring some of those up, we'll show. I'm just gonna check one last thing. If this is where I went across to, I know you can't see, but I'm scanning the play bar so I can see if there's any spot here where I go and look at I might not have been recording when I did see the smokestacks. I don't see it in this video either. Let me try one more, and that's the last one I've got to try. This one. Oh wait, this one's the longest one. What's this one? 296. 296 is where's 296? 293, 294, 295, 293, 296. Let me see if this is it. Oh no, that's the one I just had because I left it on. Yeah, look at that. That's a huge section. That's the equivalent of 300 feet. I mean, it's huge. That's going to put you way up on the mountain from that distance away. Let's try this last one too. And that is number 293. Yeah, that's crazy to see right there. I mean, what would cause that? It's so crazy to me. I mean, like you said though, Zach, I think it is those lines that you're talking about. Let me see.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not just, the humidity will do that, moisture particulates, air or dust particulates. Just if it's windy a little bit, you know how wind can make the air look turbulent almost? All these things factor in. They call it, what do they have? The atmospheric seeing charts.
Is that when they say like the visibility is 15 miles? Or I've heard that before. I don't know what that is.
Yeah. They'll have like a 0 through 10. And they say the furthest you can see is like 27 to 30 miles. That's a 10. And then like 0 would be fog where you can't see, 50 feet or 50 yards, something like that. But yeah, that's when I quit. When I realized what's making it look like things disappear from the bottom up, once you get into the atmosphere, especially over 24 miles, you're never going to be able to tell what's actually going on in the atmosphere over that distance.
No, that's why when those guys tell me, like, get the temperature gradient, I'm like, what do you mean? You want me to go out on the water and take the temperature gradient every mile? It's just not even realistic what they want. Oops, this is one other 295, and that would be it. So yeah, it's just that band is really bothersome to me because if it's repeating that high, then I don't even know if we'd ever see through that. But the good news is that now we know exactly where New Brighton is. It's at that lowest point, a little bit to the right of it. We'd be able to zoom in and have our cameras trained on one spot. Well, that was a helicopter. I didn't even see that there. Whereas here we're going back and forth. I might be looking here, and this whole time they're supposedly flashing. What we do is we'd talk on the phone and we'd say, okay, you guys ready? Okay, great. So let's do till 1240 be flashing, and then we would be observing really closely, trying to put jackets over our head or whatever, so we didn't have the sun reflection in, and then we would just be watching for 7 minutes or something while they're flashing, and then we'd say, okay, we didn't see you. Let's regroup. We're going to look at a couple other things, see if we can figure out which direction you're at. But I would sit down, try and look at Google Earth, and no matter what, you couldn't get that same view. What is that? Hold on, I want to see this again. Where is that? Yeah, that's just, I don't know why you'd be getting that up here. It's really, really very high, and then you've got it almost repeating again. Yeah, like this is a repeat of this, just like this is a repeat of this. Yeah, we had no chance. I mean, it makes me feel a little bit better because we really didn't have any chance, I don't think. But there's the low spot right there. If I would zoom in right here, they're right there. Stay there, Jeran.
Usually, well, at least I know in the north, it's like March is the best time because the water temp and the air temp will be similar. Because it's always, the water will be coldest. You know, it gets real cold after the winter up there. And then in March,
son of a buck. Cold. Hold on. I think I see it. Unbelievable. Hold on.
Uh-oh. Did you find it?
I don't know. I could be wrong. I just want to look again. Because that is exactly where they're at. They're right here with my mouse. So they'd be right here. And I thought I just saw flashes. Hold on. Let me pause this. It could be right here. Let's see. Damn it. That looks like it. Man, what is that white right there? Son of a buck, man. We might have had it if we just would have been in the right location. Oh, that's so frustrating. All right, well, I'm going to do it again. I mean, I was discouraged, and now I see that, and I'm just like, you know what? If we were right in the right spot, I don't think we would miss it. But we just weren't looking in the right spot the most of the time. And I would say I very rarely looked in that exact spot because we thought it was somewhere in between those. And we wouldn't, although I did look at the extreme on the right quite a bit. Anyway, I will try and put that in through my video editor and see if I can actually make it out to be something. Let's see again, or see if I see that in other places. Yeah, maybe I'm seeing it in other places too. Yeah, it's too hard to see right there. But anyway, I think that we need to go back. We need to... Man, that's so weird, that one spot that keeps doing that. And it's bright. I mean, I've seen them before, and we saw it at Salton Sea from whatever it was, 18, 19 miles. And it's so, I mean, it's so obvious. Like right there, that looked like it. I don't know what else would be white right there at the bottom. Anyway, all right, Ira, go ahead. You want to share what you got? I will put it on you. Let's see here.
Okay.
There you
so
go.
Right now I'm presenting.
Yep, you got it. I'm flicking to you. Thank you. Oh, this is beautiful. So great. Thank you. You're already ahead of the game. Look at you.
What?
Go ahead.
No, I didn't hear it. So sorry. I think I
there you
have
go. There's
my camera turned on or something like that.
Well, there's your two. You get there's two bands again of the repeating stuff. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just remember that a long time ago I did a video of a Spanish artist singing about I think the correct word in English is like when you don't remember things, like he calls that the south, at the south is not forbidden, but forgotten. And he makes like a song talking in some, special key about the Antarctic Treaty, and it was a little strange, the lyrics of the song, because saying at the south of the world, it's close, it's forgotten, it's forbidden. It's a little crazy. After you become a flat earther, I don't know if I explained very well. And I did a music video, and I used this Fata Morgana at the Antarctic area, and I just played this tiny thing because I think you have the same kind of stuff in your video, right? It's like this is not in infrared, but remember that supposedly something not strange because it happened almost all the time, but this distortion band, it's always occur in the conversion line or the conversion focal point or whatever you want to call it, because it's not happen all around the image. It's like in a special place where the horizon and the sky meets, and of course expand a little bit upwards. And in fact, that is something that it's mentioned in a NASA document for astronomical refraction. And they talk about, like, it doesn't matter where you are, but quote unquote, always, if you are standing at this zero flat line, of course, they assume that the Earth is flat. Well, they when they make astronomical observation, but they talk about, okay, if you are on the ground parallel to the surface of the Earth and you are looking forward, you're gonna have this 20 degrees band of distortion in the atmosphere, and that is what they call astronomical refraction. I don't know why, because
I think because you're not supposed to take measurements of the stars when they're below that.
Yes, exactly. So the document is there, and they talk about, but it doesn't matter if you. The strange thing, quote unquote, is that if you point your telescope or your camera directly to the sky, 90 degrees to the sky, I think you don't have this distortion band.
Right.
But when you point, not straight parallel to the horizon, but not 90 degrees from the sky, when you're trying to observe things in the horizon, you're always going to have this band of distortion, but not in the whole complete picture, but just in that area. It's just in that gradient. So here there is a few examples. This is another Antarctic image there. It's not forming the band type of distortion as you showed before, but it's a little, it's really difficult to observe long distances from the ground based on these atmospheric things. That is why, for me, Jay Tolan did he did a really nice job doing the long distance observation from a plane, because at least you are a little bit up from the atmospheric distortion. And again, when you, for example, trying to observe long distances from the sounding rocket, you don't have the distortion in the horizon line. You just see until reach the maximum distance, but when the sky and the ground meets, in this case, if it's a sounding rocket, the black space and the ground meets, it's not this band of distortion. It's just, a normal conversion of these two elements. But when you're trying to observe from the ground, you always have that area where things start become a little strange. And this is about the video that I mentioned before. I mean, when you go into the lab and trying to mimic nature in terms of the Fata Morgana, superior mirage or inferior mirage, whatever, the setups, it's always the same. You need the camera, which in this case is out of the picture. The atmosphere, in this case, is a mix between salt and sweet water. And then you have the final, in this case, object to observe. But always the three elements are in the same plane. You don't have you cannot recreate this if I put this paper down the how you call this, the box with water. If I put this paper down here, I am not going to get the superior mirage showing me the paper in front of my camera. So the result of this setup is this here, where you can see trying to mimic nature. So this is the paper, and here you can emulate or simulate the three different refraction conditions. The superior inverted mirage, because it's inverted because the superior mirage is just this one. This is the original text. This is the inverted and superior mirage, and this is the double superior mirage inverted, or whatever you want to call it. Down here is actual nature doing that. So here is, for example, in the Arctic, here you can see the mountain is already there, or the iceberg, or whatever this terrain is. You have already there. if you film a time lapse, the weather condition is going to start changing, and then you have, for example, a superior mirage, and then you're gonna have, for example, in other cases, this is a double or double superior. I don't know exactly the name in English, where you're gonna have this duplication of the actual horizon line. But again, this is not behind any obstacle or any curve, or if this is, you know, if this is, in fact, you can think about behind this terrain silhouette, it's more land, and that is not projected here. It's just only what you see, what is projected. I don't know if I explained correctly, because this is not the end of the world. Behind this horizon line are more things, are more land, but it's not projected up here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you only get what you see. It's like an optic dependent phenomena. It's, I don't know how to explain, but you cannot do this. Nature, I think you cannot recreate this idea of, for example, like you mentioned so many times in the past, the Canigou effect.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot have a complete whole mountain of 100 of meters appear in the horizon in a perfect line.
No.
For you to see, you know.
It'd be crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. At least you need to recreate. If you're gonna make that claim, it's a very important claim. Nobody ever present evidence about that claim. So you need to create a setup and show at least some evidence about that. Here is again, instead of the paper, they use an actual miniature of the boat, and here you can see, for example, the double superior mirage. Of course, this is not the case. I think in this case, it's just the weather condition that mirror the sky, and the appearance is that the horizon is lower, but not for me. It's like about this this line over here is already mirroring the sky with the ocean.
And if somebody went out there and let's say there's no boats out there, it's going to look like that horizon line is low.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like looking without the boat. It's like, okay, it's a normal day where the sky meets the horizon.
So is it come down to, they say things are rising because that's their explanation for the boat, but really and if you ask somebody who's an atmospheric scientist, they'll tell you that is a result of the horizon lowering and becoming a false horizon, which all horizons are false because they're all apparent.
Yes, they are all apparent. You don't have an actual.
Wow, who did this? Who did this?
Horizon, right?
Who did this? Your friends?
This?
Yeah.
No. This is from a French documentary.
Oh, okay.
The guy. It's this guy. It's an old. It's this guy here. This is Bill Neal, quote unquote, guy who conduct the documentary or this episode particular talking about refraction, and I have the complete, but it's in French. I never translated. There is a French documentary, but with Spanish subtitles, and they just talk about like around 20 minutes about the refraction, why they call Fata Morgana, the history behind the Fata Morgana idea. The idea, for example, when you see this type of thing here, is like, for example, they connect this type of effect of how you call this foca. See how you say foca?
Focus.
No, not focus. This animal from the ocean. Applause. It's not a whale.
Dolphin.
It's not a whale.
Dolphin.
It's not a dolphin.
Seal.
Yeah, let's take the dolphin. Let's take a dolphin. So they connect the Fata Morgana with the stories of people that live on the ocean and see monsters or special creatures, and a lot of the time was just like the head of the dolphin with the Fata Morgana effect. So you start seeing this type of long elongated neck or things like that, and then you have just a nice guy like NASA have in their office talking about fake news. And there you have the monster of the Ness Lake or things like that. But the documentary is based on that. It's a very nice one, but it doesn't have any special if you are a flat earther. But again, I mean, it's all based on the angle. When you are, making observations on the ground, it's all based on the angle for me between the horizon and the sky and your position. And like I mentioned before, for me, the Shade Toland experiment or observations are the best ones, because you are, way, way above this maybe limitation of the nature produced via the atmosphere layers. If not, you're always going to have this diffraction and this, this is the same. It's like, it's the same style of this, but in this case, they also have the mirror effect. Let me just here. In this case, it's maybe because the distance is a little small, or this particular weather condition at this day produce the actual mirror. But if you take out this boat and you just look the sky and the water, it's going to be like a normal day, without any special thing. So doing observation from the ground, of course, with infrared filters, it's going to be better, but you always need to fight with these limitations, and you cannot do anything else, And I was looking if I have something else, but I just want to recap this idea, because we are waiting after so many years that a glober make this setup, but with the object really behind it and bring it up. We are still waiting that. So we don't need to prove that, because this is how
the
nature
only
works.
time they ever get that to happen is if they use like some kind of liquid gas like butane or
but this is a little trick.
Change.
Yeah, but it was a really trick one, because I analyzed this and how they put the camera and how they are not. What I'm trying to say is this is the setup. The setup is the two objects are in the same flat surface. This is, and they just inclinate the camera. For example, one of the many things that are, we don't live under butane gas. We don't live under, minus 60 degrees condition in the air.
Exactly.
Nothing like that.
Exactly.
Beyond that, this object here, which represent this tube, it's with clay. It's not down or below the butane tank. It's at the same level, for example, and they put the camera below the ground if you want, but they need to leave the camera. They need to leave the camera parallel to the surface. And if you want to use this setup, you need to put this, for example, down here, not at the same level, because in the supposedly Canigou effect, the mountain, it's.
But leave that right
beyond.
there. You leave that right there, because I want to look at those red arrows in the bottom left. Is like what they're telling us then is that the light from the mountain for some reason goes up into the air. And if it really did that, then think about it. You'd be actually going from a heavier atmosphere to a less dense, which means that the rays would bend up. So that can't be right. Why are the rays bending down if the light is going up into less and less dense atmosphere, which is what would happen if it went up, then the light would bend the other way. So that whole thing, to me, isn't at all how light works. In fact, you would draw straight lines from the mountain to the person's eyes. And then, since it's going through atmosphere, I think it would hit some and dive down, and you probably lose some of the bottom image because it never reaches your eye.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my thought on that.
And again, it's completely insane how they propose that light works, or in this case, this special refraction. I mean, it's I don't know how people believe this in our days. Of course, maybe in the past it was different because you don't have all the equipment to, put in on test. But right now, especially the Globers, I think they know that it's impossible to win this little battle about refraction.
So they just keep making it up, saying other things.
What?
So they keep making it up and saying it raises things, even though it doesn't.
Yeah, but that is just a word. If you cannot prove it, it's just a word.
Right. Yeah, and that's always been their mistake, is that we're trying to show things with examples, saying, okay, this is where we could show that it takes place. So if I can show an item dropping when we look through it, then it should just be agreed upon. But they can't agree with that because of all the implications to it. There's lots of things that come with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
continue.
Exactly. And then let me just say, well, this is a little tiny setup also. Maybe I think it's related. But again, for example, this is a setup based on lasers and mirrors, and they're going to show if you change, for example, the temperature surrounding a concrete area of the air or volume of air. If you change temperature, the light that pass through that local area is going to, in this case, lower down. And the setup is the laser is over there. They calibrate, they put some mirrors to split, blah blah blah. This is the final pattern. And when they put hot air surrounding this area, the final result, in this case the interference pattern, is going to go down a little bit. Before hitting the area, it's up here, and when they hit the area, it's down here. So, but this is, and this is something that my brain, it's difficult to understand, because this is just an actual light. It's an actual laser, but it's not an image. I don't know if you know what I'm trying to say, but it's a little, because we accept that what we observe is just light, but it's an actual object.
Right.
Of course, the object is seen through this medium, in this case the atmosphere, and etc., etc. But sometimes the object is not even emitting light; it's just reflecting the light. You can say that is emitting light in some way, but it's not an actual, solid object. In this case, it's just a laser, showing that the light at that condition can be, moving up or down. In this case, down based on the heat or the temperature of the volume of the air in that case. And I put this as an as a representation, maybe when the sun start going away, but maybe the projection in the air, it's in this part of the volume of the air is more hot because it's more near to the surface of the earth in this case, and it starts stretching down. And this is from the Canigou time lapse, and you can have here the stretchiness. And again, this is not related with obstruction or something beyond or behind an actual curve or things like that. But the idea was to showing that as an example, how light react. In this case, it's the sun, because if you take a look, the mountain is not having any distortion. It's just the object that is emitting light, in this case, the sun, just in that relation. And then I don't have anything else related with that. This is more examples of object that you cannot. This case for me is one of the best in terms of the ground observation, because if I understand correctly, none of these buildings must be show up like this, because the most highest building is only 442 meters, and based on the distance and the 80, this is in kilometers, it's not in miles, sorry for that, guys. We use another unit system, but 548 meters must be hidden beyond the curve, and in this picture none of this building has that height. And of course, if you go and see the time lapse, you can see perfectly how even lower buildings start appear side to side, and also little tiny lights in the horizon. So this is I don't like to say impossible, but this is completely understandable in a flat surface.
Mm-hmm. And plus, I don't think people realize how much things shrink in the distance as far as get smaller and more compact. Mm-hmm. And so to pretend, and I was just looking at this like Metabunk, they're talking about the Canigou. And I mean, one guy says, on a flat Earth, you would see all of Canigou. That's what it calls for. That, the idea that we'd be able to see everything of everything on a flat Earth has not ever been claimed.
No.
Yeah.
And that is a stupid claim.
Oh, yeah. And then everybody in, Metabunk just follows it up. They all say it one after another. They say the same thing over and over again, that this is, then they'll show like a Google Earth picture of real close of a mountain and say, this is what the view from Marcel would look like on a flat Earth. It's like, no, it wouldn't. Why would it ever look that way? You're imagining that we can just see forever and everything stays true to size. But what really happens is you have all those items that shrink. Here you go. Just watching this boat. If it's going away from you, you'll see that it gets smaller and smaller, and it's condensing all the parts of the boat. So if at some point we say we can't see the bottom of the boat anymore, well, yeah, right there, you can't see the bottom of the boat anymore. But why? It has nothing to do with the curvature of Earth.
No, of course. And again, this is one of the best example to explain that, like, it's a little difficult sometimes to explain myself. But for example, another experiment made in the control environment. For me, this video is very, very, very clever, or at least it's very understandable how, in this case, the atmosphere works. Because if you produce that, like the setup trying to simulate the long distance atmosphere, not based in terms of vertical distortion, but in terms of the deep, or how you say, in the volume from the front to the back of, for example, 20 kilometers. Here in this part of the tiny setup, they recreate that based on changing the temperature of the water that it's injected in these tiny nanotubes. So this is a box filled with water, and this is like you can read here, it's like a carbon nanotube that is going to be heated to create the mirage. But the mirage is not just to create the mirage, it's going to disappear because it's going to get like the same index of refraction based on the change in temperature. So look how they change. It's not in the vertical only, but also in the not horizontal, but how can you say in English? From the back to the front, that axis. If you imagine that we have the y-axis, the x-axis, and the z-axis is, front to back, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So here you can start seeing how it's going to disappear.
Oh.
Okay? In that axis. So if you take this as an example.
Flip it.
Yes, if you have an object and a boat going, going in the horizon, enter in this area, it's going to disappear in this axis. How you say in this axis way? I mean, let me just bring back this. This boat is not disappear just bottom and from the bottom up. It's also enter in this type of condition here. That is why you can see it's disappear in terms of the depth of the boat. For example, right now, right there, it's floating. No, it's enter in this behavior, mixing with the atmosphere. It's crazy. I don't know how to explain correctly, but
you're explaining it perfect.
Okay, man. But here you can see the different steps, phases, how it's entered in that mist, in that index of refraction, and boom, it's getting visible. So again, this is just another experiment in a controlled environment that is not based on any curvature or any occlusion condition. It's just mixing with the atmosphere based on distance and change in temperature or whatever. But you have again nature and experiment. So we are waiting for the experiment when you can bring a total occluded object rise up in front of us without any distortion. Just we are asking just that. This is another example. Again, different condition at day, observing the lighthouse.
Is that the one from
Here
Wolfie?
What?
Is that video from Wolfie?
It's a video from Wolfie, yes. Supposedly, this is the lighthouse filmed by Wolfie.
Yeah, I was able to show that that's clearly, there's so much wrong with that video because you can, for instance, see the mountains disappear with the trees behind the, it's just because you're losing all visibility. They want to call that curvature.
Exactly. So again, we have a lot of examples.
This that I would say, sorry, Jeru.
Go
it's
ahead.
ones like this that I would say, now if the image is being refracted up, right, and we're seeing a different light, a different lighthouse that's not really there, we should still be seeing the actual light. The light should be somewhere there along the bottom maybe. And that should be poking through, right? Wouldn't you think? We'd still see the actual image, even though there's a refracted image?
I don't know about that. I mean, I guess because they're saying that everything we see is refracted, so.
But that is a fate.
Yeah. But I mean, again, what I get is that I do think that you are always looking through atmosphere, so you're always going to see things drop. Now, how much, that depends on the distance that you're looking and what exactly you're looking at. But to think that nothing drops would be weird. And then when you have the water, as you get lower to the ground and the water kind of takes over, you can see the difference in the water there too. See the water in the top picture? You kind of have like a clear edge almost. And then at the bottom, you can almost have like a see-through kind of blotchy water. Yeah. Because you're just losing sight of things that you're looking through.
Yeah. So again, I think in this case, the examples that the flat Earth community present is more robust and believable than the just words, saying by the Globers. They just speak, but they don't show anything about this phenomena.
And if they know that light drops off at a certain rate based on what it's going through, then you could easily see them just turning that into curve, because they know that at such and such distance, the light is going to break down this much, and this is how much you'd be hidden, and this is how much you wouldn't see, but they can just apply that straight to curve calculators. And again, globe believers are going to latch onto that as fact, when it's certainly not.
Here I have another examples of mirroring conditions. Well, this is I think it's Toronto. And but again, you have all these conditions because just how nature works. It's not based on any curvature or nothing like that. So I'm going to stop sharing if you are satisfied.
I am satisfied. I could show. Okay. Sorry. I'm just going to show this real quick.
Ignition sequence start.
Quiet down.
3, 2.
Do me for that. Let me turn this down. But really, I do have some questions for you, Wolfie. So this is on the Bathurst Lighthouse, just to show you on this one, because very easy to see what. Come on, let's go Odyssey. Let's go. Let's move it.
Yeah, Odyssey had these problems.
All right, right. So why don't you go here? Why don't you upload here? It's like because nothing else works right. Nothing else is really. Come on, move. It's not going to play, is it? Oh, that's a little better. And it was, 12.58 miles, and what Wolfie was showing is 90 feet above sea level. Let's play for a second. On the western coast of Australia, and he zooms in with his P900 and shows a lighthouse 12.5 miles away. He then walks down to the beach where he is. Don't know why it's loading like that. But basically what you're able to show here is that there's, and I mean, these are things, this is why I find these people dishonest, is because they're not on the up and up. Okay, so one of the ways we know that is because Wolfie would have easily seen what I'm pointing out, which is that he's claiming, oh, well, look at here, the water's covering it, and so we know that this is curvature at of the about Earth. 10 feet elevation, and zooms in again. Clearly, the bottom of the image is missing in the video, shot from the shore. Now the question becomes, what is causing this? Well, let's see if we can find out. Because I have a feeling that if you think you live on a ball, and you do this test to confirm it, well, it may confirm your preconceived bias. To check that, check out the comments from the crew that have watched Wolfie's video. He's celebrated as a hero for his watchers who wouldn't dare think, could this be caused by anything else?
So I'm back at Avonmore Terrace and Princess Street, and they've fixed the sign, which I'll show you in a minute.
Alright, so we got Wolfie filming, and on the bottom left I did include a little legend, and I also stopped right about here and grabbed a screen cap of what we see. I then placed that in the upper left hand corner so you can see that I haven't changed it. So now Wolfie is just getting a few more shots, kind of panning the whole scene there. Again, he is 90 feet above sea level and looking at Bathurst Lighthouse, which is 12.5 miles away.
I'll zoom all the way out, and what I'll do then is walk down to the beach, just with the video running.
Alrighty, and right about here, I go ahead and grab another screenshot, and I do the same thing I did with the previous one. I put it in the upper right-hand corner, and just like the other one, I'm going to leave that one alone, and we will get to those momentarily. So now Wolfie will walk down to the beach. In the meantime, I have grabbed, like I said, 2 screen caps. Now, important to note that these images are not quite level if you are taking a look, and we will see why that's important in a moment. Clearly, this wasn't by design. It wasn't bad filming. He was just filming by hand, and the water is a bit askew. So a little bit later, we will be straightening those out to match the water from the shore. So we'll worry about that in a few moments. And if you take a second to take this view in, rough job for Wolfie there in Australia. So anyway, as Wolfie gets down to the beach, he will check in with us, and then we will search out the lighthouse. And Wolfie reports that from this location, he is about 10 feet above sea level when he films here from the shore.
I'll set up this camera. It'll take me a few minutes to find the lighthouse again.
And so he's now searching for the lighthouse, as things are obviously a bit harder to see from this point. You'll also notice that I removed the little legend from the lower left-hand corner, as we pretty much are done with the filming portion. And also, here I point out this weird area of air or nothing, and we will be discussing that momentarily, but you will notice that there is almost an empty space there. That'll be important later on.
Okay, there it is. That's Bathurst Lighthouse. And you can see from this lower elevation, you cannot see the ground under the lighthouse.
All right, and Wolfie is definitely correct. From here, we cannot see the ground below the lighthouse. The question is why? I'm also replaying that portion one more time so we can watch these waves. And now I'll walk you through what I'm doing from here. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm taking the first image and making it transparent so to kind of hide it, but you'll see I don't change it at all. And then we're going to go ahead and take the second image, the one in the upper right, and we're going to move it just a little so you see which one I'm working with. We're also going to tilt it just one tilt to the left to make the water level. And then we're going to also make it transparent. All right, my next goal here was to attempt to position the lighthouse as well as the trees, one above the other, so that hopefully you agree that they are lined up. I'll then move them a little bit closer, and ultimately I'm going to land them one on top of the other. I now have the images alternating back and forth, so you can see if anything I aimed low as to not make the higher elevated image any higher than this ground observation. As you may notice, there is an interesting situation going on here. Yes, the ground below the lighthouse definitely seems to be missing, but so are the mountains and ground around the trees in the lighthouse. So this seems to me to indicate that the water is not high enough to obscure those pieces of land. So that leads me to believe that there's something else causing their disappearance. Alright, and now we move on to the second image. So I'm going to do the same thing now, only with the image that's in the upper left-hand corner, starting with making it transparent. And then I'm going to tilt it just one click to the left to attempt to get it level. Then I'm going to attempt to line them both up using the trees and the lighthouse. And finally, I'm going to place them one on top of each other. Again, I start alternating the image, or rather turning the overlay on and off. And again, it seems that we've got the problem of the hills and the mountains that are around the lighthouse and the trees that cannot possibly be covered by the water are missing from the image. So to say that the water is causing the missing landmass below the lighthouse seems to be a bit presumptuous. Alright, so now Wolfie, I have a question for you. If you'll allow me the opportunity to tell you what I think is happening, and then you... Okay, so I'll just leave it there. But you can see that there's definitely more going on than the simple, oh, well, now that we're down low.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, and that's when you can tell somebody's dishonest, because if he was honest, he would point out these things and say, yeah, we are also losing the mountains, but this is why, even though they wouldn't be lost on any curved earth. There's no rhyme or reason for that. And so anyway, that's when I know that I just start dealing with people, because if they're so desperate to prove, I mean, we saw this with behind the curve, everything else. If they're so desperate to prove curvature, then just go prove it. Like, don't lie about it. Don't lie about my experiment. Don't lie about what Bob says. Don't, just go out and do it yourself. You have all this money. Supposedly he's got millions of dollars, Wolfie. So go out and actually prove it, and not do this and then make up an excuse for why it's happening, when we can just play it back and look at it carefully and say, no, that's not why it's happening. Or else you have to explain the missing mountains, which again are even going to be further back. So anywho, let's see here. Did I have anything else? I want to watch Ben's new video. Is it long? I don't remember. Let's watch this one. I just haven't seen it yet, and figured I might as well.
Before that,
yes. Oh, yeah.
Sorry for interrupt you. No, before that, I need to leave the show.
Forever? All right. So Ebru's last day.
No, man, please don't even say that. Okay, no, sorry. But here is like 12 a.m. And it's a little late, and the house is a little tiny, so everybody listen my voice, and and I can start having problems.
Well, as always, Zero, thank you very much for the share screen. It was very good. The refraction stuff you showed was awesome today.
Thank you, man. Thank you. And I assume that next Sunday we are getting the
back to regular time.
Usual, the time the
correct. Back to
the time hours as usual.
Yes, and then the Sunday after will be no GLOBEBUSTERS, just so everybody knows that. Remember, we're talking about Flattoberfest, which will be 21-22. And get your tickets today at flattearthfestivals.com and check out the lineup. I think the schedule's all done, so you can check out who's going to be there, what day, and that's all ready to go. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. But thanks, Zero.
Okay, a pleasure, and I'm going to keep watching in the cell phone.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye. All right, let's check out Taboo's new video, and it's only 6:53. Let's have a listen.
All right, so this is Confessions of a Flat Earther. I don't really want to say that. Leave my glasses on. I don't want anybody to know who I am. You know, none of us wanted to be a flat earther, I'm telling you right now. Nobody really wanted this to be true. Wow. Not easy, you know. The first time you hear about it, you laugh, right? Oh, boy, that's stupid. Especially for me, you know, I've got 2 master's degrees. I was an astronomy major starting off in college. I took Calculus 1, Calculus 2, Calculus 3, differential equations, you know. Not the smartest guy in the world, but got a little something up there maybe, I don't know, besides the gray hair. Boy, this is tough. I hate coming out like this. Hope nobody sees me. But, you know, you go through life and you believe the earth is spinning and going around the sun, and it seems pretty basic, right? And then somebody challenges you. I remember that I got challenged, right? German friend, if you need to seek out the flat earth, I say, you're stupid, you know. It's more French than German, I apologize. You know, I'm trying to be incognito right now, you know. So anyway, you know, I was in Munich. A friend told me to check it out, so I go watch a video. Eric Dubai, 100 proofs the world's not a flat, not a round spinning ball, whatever it was. I don't think the video's out there anymore. So I go back to my apartment in Munich. I'm by myself on that trip, and wow, 30 minutes in, I stopped the video. A lot of good proofs. Watched the full video, pretty convincing. Wow. So I fly back to America, get off the airplane in Atlanta. Look at the pilot, say, man, it took us an hour longer on one trip to get there than it does here. I mean, why is it an hour longer to get home? Well, it's because of the upper level atmosphere, the winds, you know. Okay. I said, well, if the Earth was spinning 1,000 miles per hour, you'd think it would be a bigger time difference, you know. And he said, well, the Earth is spinning 1,000 miles per hour. That's why it's an hour different. So he doesn't know. He's a pilot, right? So the first experiment I did as a science-based, I'm a science-based guy. I mean, so I go to Pensacola, Florida. I'm looking at the lighthouse. So I get an altimeter app on my phone. I get a distance map on my phone. I go to the base of the lighthouse at Pensacola. I go look at the lighthouse. I go 10 miles away. I get my binoculars. I put it on the end of my iPad so I can see. There's no curvature. This is tough though, right? Because I'm visiting my brother-in-law, and he's a pilot, right? He's flying airplanes for the Navy. He trains pilots, you know, this guy knows. So he's showing us a picture from the cockpit, you know, and I said, wow, you know, the horizon's flat across. He goes, yeah, it's always flat across. Wow, that's cool. That kind of proves flat earth to me. And then I finally tell him while I'm there, you know, I don't really like to tell people I'm a flat earther, but I finally say, hey, you know, I'm doing some research on the flat earth. He goes, oh, Dave, really? You an idiot? You know, he thinks I'm crazy. I said, yeah, but you told me the horizon's flat across. It was, well, not when you get to a certain altitude. Well, so it's been 3 or 4 years now, and he hasn't told me what altitude the Earth goes from being the horizon flat to the horizon curving away from you like a ball. I guess he hasn't figured that out yet. 22,000 feet, 30,000 feet, I don't know, but at 15,000 feet, it's flat across. I got another friend who flies for a major airline, and he's a pilot. He knows the Earth is flat. He's never seen curvature. So then, you know, I'll go to Mount Hood, Oregon, right? I got to do more experiments, right? I'm a scientist at heart. Got to do more experiments. Got to prove this thing. So I go to Mount Hood, go 100 miles east of Mount Hood. Get my altimeter out. I'm 300 feet above sea level. I can see the whole mountain, right? It's all there. Using the apps, using the formulas, calculus, trigonometry, computer-based formulas. You know, that mountain should be 4,200 feet below the horizon, but it's not. It's all there, man. It's all there. It makes it tough. So anyway, all the proofs are pointing to a flat Earth. You know, so finally, you know, I'm going to fly to South Africa. I'm going to Cape Town. So what I did was I was there during the summer equinox, or real close to it, and while the sunrise and the sunset is 15 to 20 minutes shorter on their summer than what we have in our summer here in North America. It's because the sun's moving faster that time of year. Because it's a bigger circle. Takes a bigger orbit there, sun going around us. So then you see all this evidence and you can't keep your mouth shut. You got to talk, right? You got to tell people. You got to warn people. Hey, you've been lied to. Then they make fun of you, right? Make videos, put them on Facebook. Your friends, they don't talk to you. Your friends talk to their kids talk to your kids, they make fun of you. But they don't talk to you, right? It's tough. It's tough. Nobody really wants to be a flat earther. This happens. You're a truth seeker. You go out, you look for curvature, and it ain't there. You look and you look, and you want it to be there so bad. You want it so bad to be there. Come on, curve, baby, curve. And it doesn't curve. It's flat across. And they make these videos, and people laugh at you. They call you names, and they never have any proof, right? They show you a picture of the Earth from a composite. They never have any pictures. There's no proof. There's no curvature. No one makes a video of, Bob and Steve out. Hey, we're 8 miles away from each other, and can't see Bob because he's below the horizon. None of those videos. I'm not making money off of it. I'm not getting popularity off of it. So I just want to confess to you, got to come out and tell you, nobody really wants to be a flat earther. When we look at the evidence, there's no other option. And that's just scientific. You go to the Bible, the Bible's a flat earth book. Well, then your religious friends get mad at you, right? Oh boy, all these Christians. And I'm a Christian, I go to church. I believe in God, believe in Jesus. Oh, the Bible's a flat earth book. They don't like that. Nobody wants to hear the flat earth book. Yep, Bible's a flat earth book. Yep, sure is. Just read it. Nope, nobody likes that. And the Christians get mad at you. Scientists get mad at you. And yet there's no MIT grad, there's no scientist, there's no NASA guy, no astronaut that can tell you why you see all of Mount Hood from 100 miles east. No one can tell you why on a curved ball. None of your religious friends can open their Bible and show you from the Bible where the earth is a round spinning ball going around the sun. So I just want to confess to you. Don't want to do it. Don't really want to be a flat earther. Ridiculed, outcast, made fun of. Yeah. It happens.
Excellent. Welcome to the team. And I'm sure there's many more people like that can't come out yet, or don't want to, or can't because of their job or their profession. So it is moving in the right direction.
You could tell he was very uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
Even doing that.
And I guess for some of us, and if you kind of think about those of us that have done this for a while, we kind of felt okay about it because I didn't have a job that I had to worry about, right? So I had already stopped working at CVS, was working at home as a online book salesman, and so or having an online bookstore. So it was one of those things where it said, you know what, I'm okay with going out there with my voice and putting my voice out there and claiming this, because I thought what would happen is somebody would explain it and it would be kind of brushed away. But what happened was everything opposite of that. What I mean by that is you've got people telling lies. You've got people making up results of your experiment that didn't happen when they were right there watching the whole thing. You've got websites changing. You've got confusion. You've got half the group saying one thing, half the group saying another thing. We were told at the beginning that the horizon was the actual geometric edge of the Earth. Then we were told, no, it's not, because of the black swan. So at this point, it's become such a convoluted mess that they can get away with what they do, which is just basically laughing and saying, well, we know all these things are true already because of, science. Science says. But again, like if you go back to, I know I was outside, but I remember the video that Iru had. And at the beginning, the guy's talking about scientism, right? And he says something about, science has us believing that it is the answer to all things on Earth. And it's not, because you know right away that science can't even tell you anything about love. Science can't tell you anything about the love you put into something, or whether or not if we build up our children with confidence, with reminding them of how great they are, how does that work versus telling them how they're terrible children? Now, we know the answers to those questions, but science can't help you there because there is no measurement of how much love you put into something or how much hate you put into something. So we've got this problem where they've convinced the world that we need to stick to the science, stick to the math, even though the mathematics never works in reality. As far as, some of the, like what Ira said about refraction, talking about 24 miles of view across the ocean. There's no quantifying that. There's no, the refractive index is, or standard refraction. Standard refraction drives me crazy because I don't understand how they ever got away with that. Just adjusting the size of the Earth by saying it's 7/6 R, you're basically increasing the size of the Earth until it makes sense that we see the things that we see, right? Because think about it, if the Earth was smaller, then we would actually see less things off in the distance. If the Earth was larger, then we would see more things off in the distance. So by them saying 7/6 R, it's not, they just applied that. They just apply it. And then now all the things, now there's still things that we can see past that. And I'm a believer that they didn't have the 7/6 R back in, say, 1900. So I think what happened was that we started to see too far as cameras, as telescopes got better and better, and they had to apply something. And they probably need to do it again, because now we're seeing further and further with the P900, the P1000. I think that is exactly why we're seeing further. And if we actually went off the non-refracted numbers, then think of how insane it is, the things that we see. We always give them the benefit of the doubt, which will never happen on the other way around, right? It never happened that they give us the benefit of the doubt on some measurement. They draw pictures of like Canigou Mountain and they like clip off just the very top slice and say, this is all we're seeing over the hill. You're like, what are you talking about? But it's, this is how they've done it for years. And, I think that we just have to keep at it. But I really want to get to the point where we can at least agree that refraction bends things down. I mean, I'm baffled. At least we got Craig to finally admit that east and west are circles. And that's, maybe what we have to do. And that's kind of the point of my new debate show, is that what I want it, and it should be good. This week we have Space Audits is going to be there, Alan, against MC Toon. They're going to be talking about the Michelson-Morley and the interferometer experiments, which is going to be great. And they have their own kind of format. But then the week after that, we've got Dustin Nemos again against Jeffrey Daugherty. But one of the things, the point that I wanted there when I talk about the claims, is I want somebody to make a claim and then back it with evidence. Because I kind of picture myself being, let's say it's me against somebody. I want to come out and say, okay, my claim is that refraction causes items to drop. Because this, because this, because this, and because this. Let me show you my experiment. Let me show you this glass. Look at the item behind it drops. Look at this, the item behind it drops. So I make my case, and then you leave it to the other person to have to refute it. And we're going to be able to see quite easily if people are just making shit up to refute arguments, or if there's actually some rhyme or reason or correctness to their refuting the arguments. So that's kind of the goal, because I think we need to start being able to check some things off the list and move forward. If not, I mean, it's just crazy that we think, 8 years later, we're still going to be arguing over refraction, whether it raises or lowers items. That tells me it's like, okay, well, I don't want to do this for the next 8 years. I don't want to be 16 years into this and be like, now, yesterday they said that refraction raises item. That's just crazy. I don't want to do that. So my hope is that we can start to, build something here. I think Austin's doing an awesome job of that. He's building kind of a model and the way things work. And I think that's helpful. So anybody else that has any great ideas, maybe traveling, going south. Again, I'm starting to think that it is possible that maybe we are allowed to leave south and we just are told we're not. Who knows? But nobody's ever tried it. It's 8 years and nobody's gone south in a boat just to make sure. Yep, they did come and stop me. You're right. We all just assume that things that we're told are true. And when it comes down to things that put us in fear, like what, Jeran, why don't you want to go to Antarctica? Well, because it's freezing cold. Because I don't want to walk, I don't want to go both ways uphill 7 degrees, And do I really know those things? Or are they things that are simply told to me that I adopt as truth when I'm not necessarily positive that they're true? And it sucks that we live in a world like that, because you would like to build off of the past. And that's the way it should be. And if everybody was on the up and up and everybody was honest, then you would build off the past, and you would be able to, look at reports and say, no, you know what? It is cold here in Antarctica for this reason and in this place. But we have been lied to about so much that at this point, we don't even know if boats are floating off the water, right? I mean, you go look at the internet here. If we just search, boats floating, they'll all just describe it as if that's what's happening, and it's a lie. And they don't even know it, because it's not like they're lying about it, but it's because nobody can tell them the real truth. For instance, here, this is going to say, oops, over here. Can you see that? Why is that? Oh, wait, let me go to here instead. There we go. So you'll see here, what exactly is a Fata Morgana? People across Britain have been spotting a rare optical illusion which makes boats look like they're floating above the water. Refraction bends the light down towards the colder region. Okay. Ship appears to float. Refraction bends the light downwards. So then we see it here. I'm very confused by that. What are these drawings anyway? This is going up. not going down. Anyway, it's just crazy to me that we're still not at a place that people can explain things correctly. That, I mean, does this make sense to anybody? It doesn't make sense to me. It's not how we actually see things. It's not the reason for that. In fact, the reason for this seems to be that the horizon drops. That's what's happening. And I think where we saw the evidence of that, I think it was on Metabunk. I think I saw, which is crazy because Metabunk, usually I'm not a big fan of anything they've got to say. Obviously, they just want to debunk everything. But in this case, if you go Metabunk floating boats, so again, the problem that they run into is if somebody says to them, these boats are floating, well, they're a debunk site, so they have to come in and explain why. And so they come to the conclusion that it is a false horizon. The horizon is here, but it's being dropped to here. Okay. This is a actual Fata Morgana when you get the reversed image, the item basically repeating itself going upwards. And you've got this here, which is an inferior mirage. And then you've got this here, which is totally different. But yet they want to claim it's the same thing. At least this site at this point says, here's the real horizon near here. Here's the false horizon due to fog. What? I'm not necessarily sure that's due to fog. That doesn't look like there's fog there. But again, here you can actually see the horizon there. You can see it when you use, image editing. But what this tells me is that is it possible that every horizon that we see is basically lower than where it should be? Here's this one. I don't see evidence of fog. I think it's just a patch of water with the same color as the sky. Well, that's not it. It's almost like this ramps up, right? But at a certain point, it becomes almost coplanar with the sky. If that's describing right. Like at a certain point, you're not ramping up anymore. You're now leveled off. And I don't know how you would show this if you put a camera on an inclined board that kind of ramped up and then went flat. I think that the flat part of the board, after it ramps up, would be at such an angle that it's equal to the angle that you're standing on, right? I don't know how to describe that, but imagine that you are trying to look on a shelf that is just a little bit above your eye line. So you can't really see this, but it's like almost exactly the same level as your eye. So you'd be seeing almost, I could see that being the case with the water, and then you would get a reflection or breaking down, so they're showing this, but that's not, this would be completely different than the sky. You would definitely see the difference. If we remove this mountain, it wouldn't match the sky. It would be different. So, here, is it just the waters matching the sky? No, it seems to me to be a reflection. I'm going to watch this actually. Let's see. Ghost boat. Sail ghost. And I've been out to the beach many times. I've never seen this. Never once. And what would happen? It's so confusing to me. So when I'm looking across the Monterey Bay, if this happened there, then I would see a boat floating up along the mountains. So it's almost like reflecting what's behind it, not above it. Because if you had a mountain here, would you still see the same thing? I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's what diffraction does. It takes the dominant color in the area and kind of whitewashes everything else out. So the sky is like the dominant color right there. There's more sky than anything else in the image.
So is it
near that horizon?
So is it our brain replacing it, or that's what's weird to me? Is it's not our brain because the camera shows it?
Yeah, no, it happens with all circular apertures. Whatever the real dominant color is, that one's gonna Remember how in the
So my question is though, why does it end here at a solid line? Why do we see an absolutely solid line here of a difference, but what would cause it to go from this to this?
Well, just like in the video of the warehouse floor, we would see different lines like that. Some were real prominent, and then it would get hazy, but you would still see the color of the other lid. And then it would get real hazy where you couldn't really make out any of the colors. So it's mostly about the angle, and a lot of it has to do with the dominant colors. So here, I'll bring that back up here. Hold on, give me a sec.
Yeah, I'm just looking here so this is kind of what I was talking about is here. Then let's say somebody was on this shore over here shining a mirror flash. You would actually see them here, not here. So we were looking along this water line the whole time for the mirror flash. But if what we were seeing is a duplicating like this, well, this boat tells us that the water's still the water up here, meaning that the actual place you should be looking would be here, which is much different. Again, and if you zoom in, you would actually zoom into this portion here. You wouldn't even see up here because you got too close. This is another one. And I think that there's one in here that they show. That's this one. Oh, I thought it was a mountain behind it. Where's the original image? Oh, that's it? Oh, that's just clouds. Yep. So it must happen only when there's water behind it. What is this? A sequence of UFO footage? I don't know what that is. Yeah, I mean, this is a great, but again, here's my problem with this one, and I've seen this before, is it happens on the road, but why doesn't it happen to the trees?
Well, because the trees aren't at that same perfect angle.
But, okay, so how about the ground right here? Why is the ground here not disappearing? Because to me, it seems
well, yeah,
like
because it's not at that angle either. Like, this is smooth. The road is nice and smooth, where the grass has all kinds of undulations in it, and it's different levels.
Got you.
Yeah, it's got to be a really smooth angle that's really close. That, like, in that one lumpy road I showed, that's why it wasn't real smooth for a long time, because there was all those lumps. The angle wasn't that angle long enough, because the lumps in the road would break that angle, and then you would see when it was curving up again. But as soon as it got to that right angle again, you'd see that disappearance happen. So on a perfectly smooth road, it's going to be that angle the whole way, like water. You're not going to get all these undulations.
Right. And in most of these cases then, well, I guess that can't be the case because we see clouds, but is the water line here? I'm not sure. And I'm not sure if there's even an answer to that.
And here, actually, here, check this out real quick.
Yeah.
While you were showing that sunset.
Let me put you up there. Okay, you're on.
Here's the sunset right here. There's the line that it should be, but we're seeing like a water line.
Right.
This would be like the water line we see, but it's really up here where the actual bottom is. And you're seeing that sunset right here, the mirror part of the sunset.
And so this right here, this wood here is a reflection of what's right above it.
Yes.
So the floor actually goes past that to here.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, so I mean, even at the mirror flash, then we're not even looking at the right spot, because we're looking down here for it when really it should be up higher here if you were to see it. Again, when you get these kind of reflections, I'm not really sure it's the right time to be doing the experiment, because it's just hard to see. And even if you did see it, I don't know if people, but what I'm noticing though is everything drops. Nothing's rising. Everything's dropping. And yet we've got.
Well, it almost appears like the horizon itself drops down here.
Right. So wouldn't that always be the case?
The apparent horizon does.
Yeah.
It drops down.
So the horizon is, so truly the horizon probably does rise to our eye level in all instances, but we get the drop, which causes it to go below your eye level.
Yep.
Yeah. So pretty crazy stuff. All right. Well, we're going to call it a day. I just got back from a 2.5 hour drive and I'm hungry and cranky, and a lot of driving in 2 days all over the place, and to get no results is not very fun. And now if there's a movie that comes out that somebody says, oh, Jeran improved curve, just know that they're lying. You should be used to that already. That's what people always say. All right. Any final words here, Zach? You want to tell people what you got going on this week?
I had to change the map up a little bit. It was just too big. It'd be good if there were 100 people in there, but getting 100 people to start playing any of these games, it's like catching lightning in a bottle. So I made it just North America now with 30 people, but I added a bunch more stuff. Now there's trucks and motorbikes and boats, and yeah, it's pretty more buildings and stuff. So I'm trying to just get it to where it's playable, I mean, if I do start building somewhat of a following, then I could do the whole map eventually at one time and get 100 people playing it. But for now, we're going to do North America. I'll work on another continent and then release that one and so on. And, just do one continent at a time. But yeah, that's what I've been working on. It's coming along. I've had like 1,500 people view the map so far.
Nice.
Go in and play it. Yeah, not bad. But what you really want is like 1,500 people playing the map.
Right.
All at once. That's what So we'll see.
All right. Well, awesome. Keep up that. And I've just got regular schedule this week. I believe we'll do, we've got the debate on Tuesday at 6 p.m. And then I think we'll do Thursday, Speaker's Corner, Friday, my show. And then, like I said, 21st, 22nd, if you haven't already got your tickets, please do so. I think you can use the coupon code Thanks Bob, if I'm not mistaken. But try that at least to get 10% off your ticket prices. And it'll be exciting to see everybody there. So looking forward to it. And I believe that is it. So we're going to end a little bit early, or well, late, I guess, because we started late. But it is what it is. We'll see you guys soon. If you want to reach out to me, Telegram's the best way to do that. t.me/Jeranism. And if you want to debate, the best place to start is jeranism.com/debate. It leaves out, puts out the layout or the format. And then there's a place that you can fill out a form if you're interested in debating somebody. Either you can give me two people that you've already decided, yourself and somebody else, or you can just say, hey, Jeran, I'm interested in debating climate change. And then I'll find you an opponent if that's the way you want to do it. All right. I do remind you guys, please, to be kind to each other. Don't lie to each other and open your mind. There is truth inside. Till next week, this has been GLOBEBUSTERS and Zack and Jeran and Eru. We'll see you soon. Oh, by the way, I think it can be said that Zack, Austin's sister was found. She is alive. So that's good news because she was missing and for a while. And, people start having the worst thoughts when that happens. And then to find out that she has been found. And I wouldn't, go asking him crazy questions about it yet, or even his family or anything. Let them kind of process that for a while. I can't imagine what they must have gone through. So I'm sure details will come out. But just so that your prayers were answered if you were part of the group trying to get her found. So good news there. And we should have Austin back real quick. He should be back to doing streams within a week or two because I think they are moved and they're set. So as far as I know, they are on the right path. So, all right, guys, we will talk to you soon. Till then, peace.
Peace.